Hey, what's going on, world? Suzette Speaks here. It's a beautiful day in Miami, Florida, and today we are going to be talking about men and money. If you are like me, the holidays always brings some anxiety to me when it comes to spending and how much you're going to be spending on all these Christmas gifts. Yes, it's that time of year. And we're going to talk with a certified financial planner today named Lindell Douglas. He is of Jamaican descent, lives in South Florida, has been practicing in the financial sector for over 20 years and has had a lot of success helping people build wealth. Well, Mr. Douglas has written a new book called The 5 Steps to Financial Freedom. And I asked him, well, can we talk about today? And he was like, you know what? The mindset of a man. I know there is a lot of pressure in today's society for men to know how to make money independently of a 9 to 5. Now, we're not knocking 9 to 5s. Y'all get money, right? I love a hardworking, independent minded man. Hit the like button as you come in, y'all. But there's also a lot of challenges in this in today's society. Of course, we're facing higher inflation. We're facing a school system that doesn't like to teach you about money. And oftentimes within our culture, particularly in the Black diaspora, we are not really privy to money strategies. If you're like me around my dinner table, my parents didn't discuss money with me. It was like, we can't afford it. We can't, that's it. That's it. If you're watching on Facebook, shout out to everybody on our sister page. Jamaicans.com allows us each and every Saturday around 12 noon Eastern to co-broadcast, simulcast, while also on my YouTube page. So why would they allow me to do that? Well, I am Jamaican American. I was born in Jamaica, raised in South Florida. Big up Miami, big up Fort Lauderdale, big up West Palm. And I bring a little flavor every now and then. You might hear it. But I am excited to have this gentleman who also happens to be of Jamaican heritage, who has written this book to help people get free, set their mind free when it comes to how they think about money. If you're like me, there's a lot I don't know still about money. I think, I got our IRA, Roths, and, 401k. Okay, we did some of this. But there's really less ability, I believe, especially in the United States, to be as confident and what should I say, as solid in your retirement planning in terms of your wealth building as you are now in a system that puts a lot more pressure and costs a lot more to to live and survive within in our country. So we're going to talk a lot about how men can get to the bag quicker. These 5 principles, of course, the book is in the description. If you guys see the Amazon link, you can click on the Amazon link and pre-order. He has a website also under development, but almost ready for y'all as he launches into this new kind of teaching tool where he'll be able to say, I think what he's seen over the years when it comes to people as a certified investment advisor in terms of what they've done right and what they've done wrong in terms of how we approach money. So if you are a man, or actually if you are anybody looking to improve your mindset when it comes to finances, this is the right conversation for you today. He'll be around taking questions at the end. So if you want to drop in the chat box where you're watching from, that would be most delightful. I love to hear from my peoples. Again, if you're watching on Facebook, big up yourself. Put in the chat where you're watching from. Hit the like button. You know what we do over here. But again, if you're brand new and just started subscribing to my channel, or you're probably just stumbled upon me on Facebook, welcome. I'm a TV host and attorney out of Miami, Florida. And I like to have interesting conversations with people that we can all learn from and hopefully grow and experience a little bit of self-reflection, self-development. And I think in the area of money, it can be a little bit intimidating, but he's going to break it all the way down for us today. So welcome, welcome. It's a beautiful day. I give thanks to God for this moment. This time of year is a really reflective time for me. If you guys are not celebrating holidays or whatever, if you were just, in that Christmassy spirit, though, let me know what you're doing. Let me know what your plans are. Y'all done with your shopping and all of that? I haven't even started. I'm not even going to lie. What I do, though, I oftentimes buy gifts randomly that I see. Like, for example, when I was down in Jamaica for, unfortunately, a passing of a relative, I saw a couple outfits that might fit my niece, and I put them down. I grabbed it, put it down. I even looked in my closet, and I had a couple of shoes that I had bought for my mom that I haven't given her yet. Gifting. So I guess I can say I have started somewhat, but in earnest, I really have not gone to these stores, y'all. Is it crowded out there? Am I missing all the deals? Are you a discount shopper? Are you a just stay at home, click the button Amazon type person? Are you a regifter? There's so much on our minds this holiday season when we think about the year that we have and the last 2 years that we have had. But big up to everybody watching. I hope you guys are ready for a great convo. If you don't know, I do have a members only exclusive Patreon community, and we're going to be meeting tomorrow. Miss AKA Lady will be my guest. Check it out. Miss AKA Lady, I DM'd you. I hope you are good for tomorrow around 1. So we're going to be talking about coping. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about coping with the holidays. A lot of times we think of it as a joyous time, but when we're in this small group, we can be a little bit more transparent, a little bit more intimate, and share among one another what's really happening. What's really happening with these holiday blues? A lot of people get sad. A lot of people have very stressful family dynamics, right? Everybody's not necessarily ho 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 and happy when it comes to life and breakups and remarriages or parents and all that. And how to cope and be resilient is going to be our conversation tomorrow on Patreon. So patrons, all those who support my content, big up yourself and thank you. Be ready tomorrow afternoon, Sunday, that is at around 1. We're going to get started with my special guest, Miss AKA Lady. So support, again, the stream. We do this out of the love, but we don't mind if you bless us. Hallelujah. So the Cash App is there. $ Suzette Speaks. Super Chat is open as well. Show some love if you're enjoying the content and want to spread the Christmas cheer. We will be live Christmas too. Christmas Eve. Next Saturday, I have 2 nutritional and physical trainer experts, nutrition lawyer and Kirk D.A. Anderson. Next Saturday will be tag teaming with me to help you guys hopefully deal with some of the challenges when it comes to eating. Anybody know what I'm talking about? When it comes to enjoying that wonderful oxtail, curry goat, rundong, banana, whatever you're going to eat with your family. That's the Jamaican style Christmas breakfast, y'all. But whatever you're going to enjoy, we're going to give you some nutrition tips next Saturday right here on the Suzette Speaks show. But big up everybody watching. Let me say hello to a couple people. Hit the like button so I can please bring my guest on. Show him some love, please. Lindell Douglas in the building. Welcome to my moderator, RM. Thank you always. She's here helping to spread the good Suzette Speaks gospel. Y'all hit the like button, she says, and put your location in the chat. Doug, also amazing moderator. Thank you for being here, Doug. Says hit the like button, please, so more people can see what's going on. San Francisco in the building. Hi, Craig. Craig Dawkins all the way from San Francisco watching. Faraji. Faraji Muhammad is in the building. Y'all don't know. Wednesdays, thanks to this gentleman, I am being a featured contributor on the Roland Martin Network on his show. Faraji hosts a show every day, but our day is Wednesdays from 3 to 5. Y'all, I appreciate everybody who's gone over and shown support watching. It's a wonderful talk show about not always geopolitics, but local politics, international politics, and most importantly the culture that is the diaspora as we experience it in terms of how Black culture is being shaped and what is contributing to it and sometimes denigrating it or lifting it up, and how it's being shaped, hopefully, by our conversations that we have there. So go to the Roland Martin Network and subscribe and check out Faraji and I on Wednesdays from 3 to 5. Thank you for being here, brother. Appreciate the love. Locked in from Bermuda. Big up yourself. They did more. Big up yourself, Bermuda in the building. Thank you. The sister islands are here. Okay, I love it. Hey, Andrew, listen. Andrew Walker said, I'm in the store club joining and discount counting. That's how I feel. Hey, don't knock me. I be at the Marshalls with everybody. Shout out to the Ross shoppers. Shout out to the Marshalls. If you're in the States, you know what I'm talking about. The discount stores have the same things, and I'm not paying full price for it. I'm sorry. That's how I feel about the whole situation. So shout out to everybody who likes to save a little bit of something. They have high-end makeup. Now that I found that at the Marshalls, oh, it's over. I don't have to spend my big money at no Sephora and all these places. I'm not knocking if you are Ulta girl, if you like a MAC, I'm not knocking it. But trust me, if I get the half off, I'm buying it at the discount stores. Think of yourself, Andrew. Miss you, brother. Glad to have you. Boise, nice to see you from Canada. I hope you guys will check out Lindell's book. Again, 5 Steps to Financial Freedom. That's what we're talking about today. Today's show is called Men and Money. And we're going to talk about how you can get the bag up, but you can't really get the bag up until your mindset is proper and ready. Thank you everybody for being here. Chicago, says Mark. Big up yourself. Welcome to the family, and y'all hit the like button. Thank you so much. RM has already put the link of where we can be found each and every Wednesday with Faraji Muhammad over there on the Roland Martin Network. The show is called The Culture, and I hope you guys will go over and support. And welcome if you found me through the culture and you're new to the channel. Welcome. Big up yourself. Thank you so very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching around the world. You know, we love a community discussion here. Sugar Curls, how are you? Good morning to you, sis. And glad to have you. All right. So, you know, guys, I like to say hello to everybody, but we're going to get started with Mr. Lindell Douglas. His bio, Lindell, you sent me like a 2-page bio, which I thought, okay, yes, deserves to be read, but I'm going to put a little bit of sprinkling in it in the description after the show, y'all. But just to let you guys know, he has been working in the financial industry over 20 plus years with a long history of providing comprehensive financial planning advice for retirement, estate, investment, and risk management. He's adept at evaluating data and delivering sound advice based on risk tolerance, financial goals, and of course your individual circumstances. So I'll say that today, everything here is for entertainment and informational purposes only. All right, if you want to check out Lindell and get some individualized advice, contact him directly, y'all. But we're going to do it today for just discussion purposes. But he's well versed in financial management and best practices. And he has a new book, and I'm going to bring him up to tell us more about why he wrote the book and how he's hoping to help our community. What? No way. Xavier from Japan. Hey, big up Oliver. Yo, them Jamaicans be everywhere, bro. I love it. I love it. I love it. All the way from, we say in America, Japan. Over there, we say Japan. That's how Jamaicans would say, all the way from Japan. I can't believe you're watching. Welcome again. If you're watching on the Facebook sister stream, Jamaicans.com, big up yourself. Thank you so much. Every Saturday, 12-ish. And of course, on the Suzette Speaks YouTube page. Welcome to all my speakers. Those are the members of my communities that speak up, speak out in our chat. Afterwards, you can always leave your comment. And later, we're going to drop the link so you can ask him questions directly. All right. So without further ado, welcome to the Suzette Speaks Show, my brother, Mr. Lindell Douglas. How are you?
Hey, Suzette, how you doing?
Fantastic. You're looking great. Are you joining us from Jamaica? I know you was there for a while.
I'm actually in South Florida right now.
Okay.
I'm actually going back to Jamaica on Wednesday.
Okay, listen, y'all. He likes to frequent the island. But so let's get to know you. I know you, like, in full disclosure. I know him in real life. I've hosted shows for you, big concerts and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I've heard what we call stage shows, Jamaican style, with big reggae artists and international artists. You do such great work. But for people to get to know you, before we get into this discussion, please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you, where you're from, and how you got into financial planning.
Well, I am originally from St. Thomas, Jamaica, a small community close to Portland called Johnson Mountain. Grew up not knowing that we were poor, but my grandfather was a farmer, and so we basically had everything to eat. So there was never any lack of food. But we live in a very modest home in a community of about 300 persons. At about age 8, my mom moved to Kingston to work as a domestic helper in Barbican, Paddington Terrace area. And myself and my sister lived there in the helper's quarter, until I passed my common entrance exam and I went to Kingston College. And then I migrated to Connecticut. And from Connecticut, I found my way to Florida. I got into the financial service. It's funny because in high school, I wanted to be an accountant, right? I was always good with numbers. And I find that, I like to solve equations and, work stuff out. And so I wanted to be an accountant, and I started my career doing that. I got a job in Connecticut with the State Department of Education, as an assistant accountant, and was going to college while I was working. And, I did that for a while, but something was missing, the whole fact that I was going into work, even though they were very good to me, I just felt like I was almost like in prison. I was locked up, but I couldn't really, move about, So at about age 12, I started to do business, where I was going to school, and I built my first fish tank outside, more like a little moat, with cement and stuff. And I raise fighter fish and goldfish and sell them to the sell them to the pet store. That's how I would make money while I was in high school, and I kind of enjoy that. And then at some point when I was working, before I came to the US, I was working for the Department of Statistics, and I was selling jewelry. I'd have a jeweler make the jewelry, and as I go around to different places that they were sending me to, I'll take order and make some money on the side, So I
Okay,
find that I
hustler.
enjoy, yeah,
Okay.
I find that I enjoy entrepreneurship, right? And but I needed to get some seeds, right? I needed to get the resources needed to get started. At some point, I bought a travel agency, and I had that for about 10 years until the travel business, got a little challenging. So I sold the one. By that time, I had a tour company in Jamaica and a travel agency in Connecticut. So I sold them, and I was like, what do I do with myself now? Right. And I said, well, I kind of, accounting is a little bit boring, but I'm good at it. So I
Hold
took
on,
a
let me
job
pause
as
you
an.
because you've
Mhm.
gone to a lot, and I'm just like, how he got the acumen from growing up from such humble beginnings. Praise God for good values. Sounds like my grandparents, didn't have a lot, but the kids didn't even know they were lacking or quote unquote poor by Western standards, but there was lots of love. And I tell people they were organic before it was really an organic movement. They were eating out the ground and growing their own
Mhm.
food. There was no lack of food. There was no supermarket, but you went
Right.
outside and you picked your breakfast and you picked your lunch and you killed a goat or whatever it was for
Right.
dinner on Sundays only. Meat was
Hmm.
only on Sundays. And it
Hmm.
was very interesting to learn that there was a different type of richness in those environments. So, did you grow up with your grandparents? You said.
Right. So it's funny, right? My mom and my dad has 5 kids, right? So my dad is into construction. He died a couple of years ago, maybe
Mm-hmm.
about 5 years ago. And so my dad, they would move around a lot, and I didn't like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
preferred to stay with my grandparents. So I would cry to stay with my grandparents and stop eating. So they sent me to live with my grandparents. So out of the 5 kids that my mom and dad had, I was the only one living with my grandparents in St.
Ah,
Thomas. At some point they were living in Mandeville, they were living all over the place, right? And
okay.
then my mom and dad got divorced, and my mom, who didn't have a career outside of the home, when my dad left, right? Because my dad was a visionary, right?
Mm-hmm.
He would see stuff that other person wouldn't see. So he would, like, when I was born, he built me a house. He built every one of his kids a house and said, "This is yours," right? And but it's a house that it's not in Norbrook, it's not in Cherry Garden, right? So my house was in Yellow St. Thomas, right?
So okay,
No,
wait a minute. So for people who don't know, for an American context, those are kind of like the upscale quote unquote
right,
Jamaican neighborhoods. So he
right,
didn't go up to, the upper middle class, if you will, to build houses. So he was more so in the countryside and built your house?
right, more so in the countryside.
Right.
So, but now there's a road going into St. Thomas, and that house value has gone up about 400 times, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, he was doing stuff, and I'm going to come back to that at some point, to just
So
show you
your
how.
father physically built, that's another thing.
Yeah, my father
Because
physically built because he was in construction,
so
right?
people don't
So he,
understand, if I could just add please some
yeah.
context. So Jamaicans in Jamaica
Mhm.
are very, very passionate about building a house, right? And it's not like they hire a contractor. Well, they do, but if you know how, and my grandpa was the same way. He was a electrician and a builder. He could understand, what would you call it? Like, there's a there. I don't know what this science is called, but not surveyor. It slips me right now, but they can. They're workmen who don't go to school, but they are very good at building construction. Let me put it like
Yeah,
that.
man, their trade is almost their
It's like a
skill,
trade, right? So
right?
they're not formally educated, but
Yeah.
they can. I'm talking about from the piping to the, you know, the underground work, to laying the foundation, to, I'm talking about big brick by brick built homes. So in Jamaica, if you're driving along any road in any community, almost, you are always going to see construction, and you're also most likely going to see homes that are like half built, because as
Mhm.
people get money, they add literally the toilet, the brick, the window, one by one, and they don't have mortgages in the sense of the same way that we have in the United States. Now, you can get a mortgage in Jamaica and start a home and owe the bank, et cetera, et cetera. But most people like to build even over a long period of time out of their own pockets. And literally, if it takes them 5 years, if it takes them 20 years, build
Mhm.
a home themselves. No mortgage, but it might take you 20 years to move into it. So I'm picturing your dad. So I just want to add that. So if people are not familiar with the cultural references that we're making, so when he says he built him a house, he doesn't mean like he bought him a house or built it with, you
No,
know,
no.
a
He
contractor coming out and building it for him. He's saying that his father had a vision to buy land and skillfully built literally the home himself.
Right. And build a home, buy the land cash, build the home with no mortgage. And this house was made out of stone. So this
Yeah.
house has survived all kind of hurricane and nothing. I mean, if you look at the house, the structure, everything is still solid. And
Right.
it was built back in 1966, right?
Wow.
So solid stone house that he built. And he basically built a house for all of his children, right? And so, but once they got, my mom and my dad had a very, oh God, it was a terrible relationship, right?
Mhm.
So once they divorced, right, my mom now didn't have a profession, right, because she was
Right.
a housewife, right,
Right.
and she was a country girl, and my dad was a
City boy.
yeah, contractor and this that. So he left, right, and then she now had raising 5 kids plus she had one before, so she had 6 kids, and so she tried everything. So she would make coconut oil and sell them, and she would do that until she took a job as a domestic helper, right? She took a job as a domestic helper, and myself and my sister went to live with her in a the helper's quarter. Now today I have a house in Jamaica and I have a helper's quarter, and sometimes I'm looking at it and I'm like, really, was 3 of us was sleeping in here? And it just bring me back full circle
Yes.
to how I
How you
grew up
lived in
there
that. Like, you're
over
looking like,
years.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
common again in many of the newer houses in Jamaica. You also have like a, not like a wing, because it's not even a full wing. It's like a room. Maybe it has a kitchenette or something, kind of like an efficiency, where the person who helps raise your family, helps clean, helps. It's like a domestic, a live-in
Hmm.
domestic,
Hmm.
lives. And so you're looking full circle. Oh my God, I lived in a helper's quarters as a
Yeah.
child,
Yeah.
and now
Yeah.
I have a helper's quarters in my home.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So
Yeah.
that's a
So
profound
it does.
reflection. Doug says
Yeah, man.
men
So
building their
sometimes I
homes.
look and I was like,
Yeah,
I
sorry, I want to
cannot
read this
believe
comment.
that
Yeah,
3 of us actually live in this
in the helper's
space,
quarter. Yeah, it's
right?
amazing to look
And I was
back.
like, I don't know how we did it, but we did it. I was able to
Mm,
do my schoolwork. I was able to get all that done, pass my common entrance, and here I am today. So we at some point, my mom, her sister migrated to Connecticut, and her
mhm.
sister was a nurse, and then her sister filed for her mom, and then her mom filed for my mom and all her kids, and we all end up in Connecticut, right? So we're in Connecticut. My mom by now is a CNA, what's that? Like a nurse assistant or something like that,
Mhm.
whatever that is.
Mhm. They
Well, she
still
was
have it. Certified
yeah,
nurse's
she's
assistant. Yep.
yeah. So she's a CNA and she's working and she's trying to, and she brought up all of her kids. So here we are, all 6 kids in Connecticut, and from there, I always have these dreams and these visions, even when I was in Johnson Mountain walking barefoot. I
Mhm.
always see myself elsewhere and see myself doing different things. So it's almost like when I arrive in Connecticut, it looks very familiar because I saw it before in my dream.
My
I
Lord.
saw it way before. So, and I was like,
And that's
okay,
a pretty big deal, Lindell. Let me jump in, because even though you grew up basically in the countryside of Jamaica, and again, that time the countryside is really underdeveloped, or really rural, I should say, bush,
yeah, we
as
had no
Jamaican people.
electricity.
Exactly.
We had
My
no
grandparents didn't have
electricity.
electricity. Exactly. For years, decades, right? So we're talking about buck a lamp. that is literally a kerosene
Buckle
lamp.
up, no running water. We had to go catch
Nope.
water in our
You
head
catch
and bring it
water
from the
either at
pipe.
the
Yeah.
pipe or the river or whatever. It was
Yep.
very
Hmm.
country living, if you will. So to see yourself as you describe in a place like Jersey is, I'm telling you, a big leap, y'all. So I just want to kind of give that again some context. How could you understand? I mean, like what it could be like to be in a bigger place, a bigger city, a lot more developed, etc. How did you gain that vision?
You know, the funniest thing is that I couldn't, but something was just feeding things into me. So I'd see myself elsewhere, right? And I didn't understood it. And I was
Mhm.
like, sometimes I'm walking and I'm getting these things, and I'm like, what in the world? I mean, it just didn't make sense to me, right? But once I got to Connecticut, I start kind of understand, and by then I was a fairly good student. I was a very good student.
You were a
Um,
nerd. Just say it. Come on now. Fairly good student. The man talk about how he love maths, as we would say, math and other subjects. So you were
it's
a
funny,
nerd.
yeah.
And I shout out. We love black nerds around in this channel.
Yeah.
So
So,
love
so
school, love
right,
math.
and I was
Yes.
driven. I just somehow have this desire to be the best.
Mm.
I have this. I can't really tell you, but I just have this desire to always excel, to autograph whatever I do with excellence. So I
Is
have
that
this
from grandma
desire.
then? Is that from grandma?
I don't know where it came from. Maybe from my grandmother, maybe from my grandfather. But one of the things, my grandparents was very. My grandmother lived till 105. My grandfather died about 87. But they were a huge influence on me, right?
Mm, mm.
And they would tell me that there is absolutely nothing that you can't achieve. There's absolutely nothing that you can't be. And I mean, they've literally just feed me with a lot. And then the thing is that I have to go to church every Sunday and I have to
Yeah.
learn the Bible cover to cover, right?
Oh wow.
So I was required to do this. It was like, okay, it wasn't a decision that I would make. I'd go to a lot of funerals, right?
Mhm.
Because they go to every funeral there is, no matter where it is, they're going, right? So
Mhm.
I remember going to a lot of funerals. I remember going just wherever. I remember my grandfather had a donkey, and I would be in they had like an amper thing, and I'd be in the amper going to the field with him, and it was just I
That means like
love
on the
that.
side of the donkey in a basket, on a hamper, as he said.
Yes,
So you
yes,
would be on the side of the donkey in the hamper going to the field, plowing and
going to
stuff.
the
Oh wow.
field.
Those are great
Yeah, and then
lessons,
he was
Lindell.
he had like maybe 3 or 4 acres of land that he would farm,
Wow.
and then the people would come and buy provision from him to sell in the market. So he would so basically but and he would farm it by himself. And there
Buying
was a little river.
provisions, just so we could break it down for our American audiences.
Yeah, so like
Yams,
yam and that
cocoa,
sort of thing. Yeah, so he
dasheen,
plants banana. There was,
plantain, green
yeah,
banana.
plantains. Yeah, we had mango trees. We had lots of fruit trees. There was a little river running by. As I remember as a kid, I would set. They would. He taught me how to make these bamboo things and put in the water and catch like what we call them in Jamaica janga. They're more like shrimp,
I
in
was
the
gonna say
river.
yeah.
Yeah. So I used to do all of that, and I used to enjoy the summer, even when I was in Kingston, going back to St. Thomas and going to spend my summer there, because then I would go in the bush and shoot bird, and catch those
Did
birds,
you
and
use
then
a slingshot, Lindell?
yeah, we use a slingshot, yeah, and
My
then
dad used to talk about killing birds with a slingshot.
oh yeah, yeah, and then we cook them right
Country.
there, and pretty
Yes.
much, and then I would play marbles, and I was very good. So I always have these bags of marbles that I would win from others. But I was very competitive. I always wanted to be the best.
Mm.
I never like losing. So basically, I would make sure that I'm the best. I practice marble, practice hitting, practice being a sharpshooter, and so and with my grandparents, I think I crave attention, right? So with my grandparents, I got the attention that I didn't get as the third son in my parents' home, right? So I
Ah,
have two older brother that they got
middle
all the
child
attention,
syndrome.
right? Yeah. So and here I was a third there. Then I have a sister. Then I have two other brothers.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's what's kind of the
Well, I get
dynamics.
now. So it's good that people get to know you, Lindell. And someone is asking, I think it's Xavier was asking, what city in Connecticut did you move to? You mind sharing that?
Yeah, we moved to Hartford, Connecticut.
Hartford. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people relating to your story. Welcome, Roslyn. Hey, the last event in Jersey. Sir Hill speaks in the building. So glad to have all of you here. Definitely leave your questions in the chat for Lindell. He's just telling us a little bit more about him, how he arrived at becoming the man he is, and now why he's teaching other men how to shift their mindset so they can get their bag, right? So they can get their money up.
Mhm.
Hartford, Connecticut in the building. So as you develop, I just wanted people to get a sense of who you are, because again, sometimes when we think about gurus or authors and stuff, sometimes we don't understand who they are and where they're from. So I'm grateful that you can kind of just share with us a little bit more about your upbringing and how you view the world. And I think that helps a lot to inform us and to as to where your writing originates and where it comes from. So you say you have this innate sense of, I just got to be the best. I'm hungry. I want to prove to people. I want to show people, where, what I am. I think the attention craving, it's all good too, because if you like a little recognition, a middle child can really use some. So you're like, I'm going to stand out. And that's actually a good thing. And I'm asking that because I think a lot of questions about parenting also circulate when it comes to what are the parenting styles that are most effective to give kids that boost and to help them stay focused and to stay driven. So I'm asking you all of that for those reasons. So fast forward, you get to Connecticut, fast forward, you live with family up there, which you've described. I just like to chime in, is called family migration by some and so-called chain migration by others. But again, people survive in America because of the community, the unit.
Mhm.
So many families, including my own, we didn't come one person at a time. We came brother and sister because we could live together, work together, and save enough to get an apartment together and then start your life in America. It's the most stable way to allow people to come here so that they don't become dependent on any government assistance. You need the tribe, the community. So your aunt coming and then your mom and then you is normal. And what I think is really the best way to allow for immigration so that the families stay intact. And again, everyone is supported on their own and learns the system and is able to stand on their own 2 feet. That sounds very similar to like how my family emigrated here. So you get to Hartford, you are into, you said accounting first.
Right. So first, I mean, when I got here, I was 20 years old. And so I had not finished college or anything. So I started to go to school, but I wanted to go to school, not the experience my kids have where they go on campus. So I was going more in the evening and working because, I wanted to do both. I wanted to work and I wanted to get my degree at the same time. So I was looking for a job as a financial clerk, right? So I applied several places. I remember applying to St. Francis Hospital, and they had an opening, and I applied, and they went for the interview, and I went for the interview, and I sat outside, and they wouldn't call me in, and they wouldn't. And finally, they called me in because I guess I was the only black person right there. They called me in, and the man said to me, "I know you're applying for a financial clerk, but we have an opening for you to wash the dishes, in the kitchen." And I said, okay.
Welcome to America.
I said, okay. So I'm like,
You
all
know,
right.
I'm applying for a whole nother job, and you gonna tell me you have a dishwashing position?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow!
So
Oh
I said to
wow!
him, I said, okay, but I applied for to be a financial clerk, and I know I'm good at this. And he said, no, that's if you want to start there, you can start there. If not, we have nothing for you. So I said, okay, thank you. And I left, right? So I decided to go a different way about it. I said, okay, if they're not going to employ me because, let me prove to them that I know what I'm doing. So then I signed up for a temp agency, took all the exam and that they have, and they hired me as a temp, and they placed me at Department of Statistics no, I'm sorry, Department of Education to work as a temp agency. I was there for about a month, and they were like, oh my God, you
You're
know
so
what you're
smart.
doing.
Ah,
Yeah, we have to. And by then I wasn't a US citizen, and it was very hard I think they had some rule in Connecticut at the point that the job must go to US citizens first. But they literally created a position for me. And
Oh,
they said,
wow.
listen, I was the only black person in the accounting department. And they said, listen, we're going to create a position for you. We know we have to jump through a lot of hoops, but we're going to do it because you're good, right? Because I was able to reconcile their accounting system that nobody could get it done. Because I like to reconcile everything to the very penny, right?
Oh, I love
So,
it.
so I did that to the very penny, and they were like, oh my gosh. So they created this position, and that's one thing I learned, a very important lesson, right? So when they created this position for me, the state rule says that it must be advertised and to everybody, and they must be interview everyone. But job was mine, right? So when I saw other persons going for the interview, I went to the head of the accounting department. He says, "Why are you upping all these people applying for the job that you told me it was going to be mine?" And he says, "Don't worry about it. We have to do that, but the job is yours." So all of these people came and applied, and I got
Scary.
the job because the job was mine. And that's when it dawned on me. I said, "Wait a minute. Sometime in life, when you see things, it's created for somebody. No matter who's applying, don't worry about it because it's yours,
Word.
right?"
That's a
And
word.
that's the first time I learned that principle, that when something is yours, it's yours. Don't worry, don't worry, because I was very worried. I got the job. I got the job as an assistant accountant, and I was on target now where they're trying to get me to be an accountant. So basically, what you have to do now is there's some exams you take, but I was still in school. Anyway, while I'm in school, I started to plan ski trips, right? And I've never skied in my life, right?
As a
But
side hustle?
uh,
As a hustle? As a
yeah,
sell?
yeah, yeah. That's a side thing because I realized all these white kids are skiing. So I said, all right, I can make some money. So I started to do a planned ski trip, and I would sell these ski trips, and these kids go on these ski trips. I've never gone, by the way. I've just basically just researched everything, put it together, and I was selling the ski trip. I was making some money. I was in school, and then an opportunity came up for me to buy a travel agency. So I'm like, okay, I save all this money, I'm gonna buy it. So I bought it, right? And then that no turned into where I was going to this church in Connecticut, and I would get up early in the morning and go to 6 o'clock prayer. Now I would this is a Black American church, and I was like a couple Jamaican, but so I'm going at 6 o'clock in the morning, never know the pastor, never know anybody. And one of the pastor came up to me and he says at the word early morning prayer, he says, "You've been coming to the early morning prayer every morning." For a young, yeah, I was like 22 by then, I think. For a young person, we don't see a lot of 22-year-old coming to early morning prayer. It seemed like you're seeking, so I'm going to do something for you. What do you do? So I said, well, I'm an assistant accountant with the state, and I also own a travel agency. And he says, okay, I'm going to do something for you. Come to the 8 o'clock or the 10 o'clock service, right? Because they had two service, and I'm going to do something. He didn't tell me what he was going to do. I showed up, and he goes, Lindell Douglas, are you here? I stand up, and he says, this young man is a very faithful young man. He has a travel agency in Bloomfield, Connecticut. I want everybody here to use him. My travel and he did it for the 8 o'clock and the 10 o'clock service. My travel agency just went like this. Whoosh. I had to hire four people.
Master for the win.
I have to
What?
hire four people immediately, right? Just to handle the volume of business I was getting. And it
Because I'm,
changed.
I'm I'm glad you fill in the blanks. Because sometimes when you hear people say, "I go from this business, I bought a travel agent," I'm like, "How does one who is 20, who just came to America, buy a travel agency?" But I think there's
I was here 2 years when this happened, by the way. 2 years.
so 2 years in America, and you
Two
bought a
years.
travel agency. So this is a thing of mindset. There's so many parts of your story. I want to just
Mhm.
pause you and emphasize. Shout out to everyone who's watching. I see Joy Kane all the way from North London. Dr. Thunder, how are you? Good to see you, brother. Andrew, he says you look like his relatives. You never know. We all got somewhere. And Xavier says, I grew up in Hartford. Big up Sportsman Athletic Club. I don't know
Oh
if you know about.
yes, I know Sportsman Athletic Club.
Cool. Joy Kane shared, hey, I had a similar situation. The receptionist had never seen a black person. So this was like in the 80s or the 70s when you migrated?
It was in the 80s.
Okay, so yeah,
So
there was
this.
still a lot of prejudice and bias
Oh
depending on
yeah,
where.
and
My father experienced it when he migrated. It was a lot that he was qualified for that he did not get. So it was a very rude awakening when he got here. Xavier says, I grew up in Hartford. Big yes, okay, perfect. So yeah, it was very interesting to know that someone in 2 years of migration. That so I will just kind of point out that the high school system in Jamaica is a very highly, what should I say, preparatory school system, and it's not the same as here in the United States. what you learn if you go to high school in Jamaica, first of all, is private and you must pay for it. Everybody pays for a high school education. You can get a government scholarship, and there are few scholarships, but most people have to pay out of pocket, almost similar to like college here. So to know that you had that level of skill set coming out of Jamaica high school without going to a college yet is amazing. So you were able to do full accounts, full reconciliations, and things like this. So they were automatically surprised because, of course, on your resume, there's no college degree, but you had such already, preparation through the academic rigors of high school in Jamaica that you were ready. And I find that a lot here. Sometimes people will get pushed back, but you're actually a little bit more skilled in terms of your knowledge based on the exposure. If you went to one of the top schools, KC. So you had a lot of knowledge with you when you came, but a lot of people didn't recognize it.
Right. So I had 2 years and I excelled in principle of accounting and I excelled in principle of business. Right. So those are subjects that I've mastered. Right. So
So those are equivalent to like almost like associate level Jamaica high school.
so even if you take principle, like with what I prepared, with what how they prepared me in high school for principle of business and principle of accounts, I could take college accounting and pass it without taking the exam. So when I started to go to when I enrolled in college, I basically just audited the class and took the exam because I didn't have to go through it already because I already was
Oh, so
master
yes. So
excelled at it.
okay. So coming to
So
America, you could test out of a lot. A lot of
yeah.
colleges allow you to do that. Take
Hmm.
a test, see if you have proficiency, and you can test into the next highest class. That happened
Hmm.
to me as well. I did it for a couple classes, and then I didn't do it because I wanted to go to the easier class and get an A. Strategy. I was like, no, I'm gonna get an A in that class, so I'm gonna take it from the beginning instead of skipping a level or two because of testing into it. Shout out to Gracious says greeting. Gracious greatness says greetings to that speaks in Lindell Douglas. I'm watching over here in Hertfordshire, UK. Big up yourself. Awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But yeah, the migration pattern, and I guess I just want to point out some of those struggles are very universal when it comes to immigrants and what they're able to do. But shout out to you again, due to having a solid base, you could work and save money so that when the opportunity comes, thank you, Pastor, you could jump into the game full fledged. Thank God for
Hmm.
that. So you could come in with some cash, grab a business, and
Right.
because you had already had some of the education through your Jamaican education system from the high school there, you had already kind of had the mindset of what it takes, and watching dad and watching mom hustle, you already had some idea of entrepreneurship and what it takes to build business. So fantastic. So you grabbed this opportunity. Pastor saw you, was like, I'm gonna bless you, sir. You get business going, and so you sell a bunch of trips and you become rich. I'm asking.
Right. So I sell a bunch of trips, and then they started to do like going to Israel and Holy Land tours, and they asked me to plan these trips, and I would do it. And then wherever he traveled, he sent people, and they were using my agency. So at 22 years old, I was making about $250,000 a year, right? So, and I was in the States for 2 years, and I bought my first house at 22, right? So and so I was doing well, but there's a lot that I didn't know that I didn't know.
So you attribute that to hard work ethic and opportunity, right place, right time, or what do you attribute that to?
I attribute it to a lot. I attribute it to sometime what happened is that um, when you're in the right scenario, the right situation, and you are ready for it, opportunity finds you.
Mm.
But if you're not ready, you can't see it, right? It's similar to this, right? And I tell a lot of persons, sometimes in order for you to move from where you are to where you need to be, it's a lot to do with your mind. Because you see, our eyes only show us what we program it to see. All right, let me give you a case in point. If you buy a blue Mercedes, all of a sudden you're driving around along the street, you start to see blue Mercedes. Now, blue Mercedes was always around on the street. It's just like your eyes wasn't open to them. So your eyes wasn't open to it until you got a blue Mercedes. Then you start to see blue Mercedes. So in a sense, what you have to do to put yourself in the right place is to trick your mind by giving it something that you want and visualize yourself in it. And then all of a sudden you start to open up yourself for it. Right. And I learned a lot of these further on in my career when I got into financial services, and I do a lot of training, and I've learned a lot of these in the secular world where they show you, listen, if you're looking for the guy in the red shirt and you're in a crowded room, if you're not looking for the guy in the red shirt, you won't see the guy in the red shirt. But if you focus your mind, as I said, I was very driven, so I was looking for success, right?
Yeah.
So it found me because I was prepared, right? No, if I'm in a room and I'm not looking for the person in the red shirt, I'm not going to see the person in the red shirt, because it depends on how I socialize, depends on my program, my mind. You see, sometimes your environment socialize you only to see certain things. So you're
Mm,
looking at the same thing, you're looking at, and you're not seeing the opportunity because you're focusing based upon either negative or positive socialization. You're focusing on the wrong thing,
yeah.
right? So yeah, and
So,
that's that.
so
Yeah.
no, let's expand upon that. I want to get into the book because you're getting there, brother. You're going deep. Welcome everybody. If you're just watching or if you're team replay, hit the like button. We want more people to watch. BigUpJamaicans.com, where we're simulcasting today. I have my brother Lindell Douglas here, new author. Has a book. The Amazon link has been dropped. Thank you, RM, and my other moderators for putting it out there so you guys can pre-order and support his book, 5 Steps to Financial Freedom. Now we're talking about his own journey, and yes, Doug, I'm like listening to him. I'm like, bro, you just gifted, because I'm like, other people can see themselves in you, or can they think they can do what you do? Because Doug's like, hustle, 1, breeding betas, building ponds, 2, travel agents. Like, what's going on? It's a lot of wonderfully fast progress, and I think I want to just slow down a little bit because there are people who may have not had progress before the age of 30, who are looking at you like, I'm late, I don't have, what you had, or maybe I have messed up, family life, or trauma that set me back, or opportunities missed that I feel guilty. I read a great fortune cookie yesterday that said, don't let the past mistakes control your present. So I think a lot of people have, you know dwelling issues, where we're dwelling on, as you were pointing out, things that don't matter, things that don't allow us to see the bigger picture, things that don't allow for growth, and then we get kind of stuck by our own sight, is what I am hearing you say. So I know offline we've talked about how you've seen uh what our system here in the United States develops in terms of the sight of people. Can you talk a little bit about how we're conditioned here and how we
Okay.
can use some of the principles in the book to kind of like break that conditioning? So talk about what you see when it comes to consumerism and how people's sight, how their mindsets are conditioned here in our American system.
All right. So let that. All right. Let me start by saying this. Right. Growing up in Jamaica, seeing my grandparents, my grandfather was a farmer, so he really didn't work for anyone, and he understood about sowing and about reaping. And I'm talking about sowing seed in the ground and understanding the season, when to sow what and when not to sow, and basically rotating the crops to plant different things at different seasons, right? So that's the thing. I've seen my dad, and I look at my dad and I'm saying, okay, all right, my dad would, almost every money that comes into his hand, he sees it as seed. And then he would buy different things, and then he would develop them. And sometimes you look at him and you say, Dad, are you crazy? Why are you buying in this place so far up in the mountains? Nobody's going to do anything up there. And, I mean, it just don't make sense, right? But he's trying to think long term.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, I think that somewhere in the Bible says a good man leave an inheritance to his children. So I look at that, and then I look at me. And the other day I was looking at something, and I said, okay, my dad gave me a house. My sister has one, my brother. And so, all right. So I have that house, and I'm passing that house down to my children. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, okay, I gave my kids, when they're born, I open up a college fund for them. And the other day I'm thinking, I'm saying, who was smarter? Because I'm looking at, and I don't know the answer yet, right? So I'm thinking to myself, I'm saying, who was smarter? Because my dad has given me something that I'm passing down. I gave my
Tangible.
kids education that's going
They
to die
can.
with them,
Right.
right?
Wow.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So, okay, all right. Should I have built a house. Now I'm leaving something that my dad gave me to them, right?
Yeah.
But I did not give them something like that,
Like
a
a
birth.
tangible asset.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe what I should, I'm just, this is me thinking aloud now. And as soon as I have the answer, I'll tell you, right? This is me thinking aloud. Say, maybe what I should have done is that money that I had in the mutual fund for their college, I should have kept it and give them that and says, listen, let that stay when you're 25, 27, 28. That's, you're going to reap some of the benefit from that, but never touch the principal, right? Because that's
Mm,
something that's going to be with them. Because
right.
every time you get money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Money has in it, right, something to eat and something to sow. The problem is in this generation is that we eat everything we get. So we basically don't put away anything to the future. And if you look at the society, society said, okay, you start working at 18 years old, you work until you're 65. Now they're telling you more like it's 67, 68 just to get social security. And so you've been working for most of your life, and then you die at 76 or 81. So you're telling me that, all right, so all right, say I start working at 20 and I retire at 65, right? So I have 45 years that I'm working, and I'm not really able to enjoy a lot of life because I'm trying to save for retirement. And then I get to retirement, I'm 65 years old, right? And then I'm going to be dead. Most person, for especially for a male, you're at 76. My dad died at 75, right? So, his dad died at 99. My grandfather died at 87 on my mom's side. So I'm looking at all of that and I'm saying, okay, so basically 76, 65, you have 11 years of which you're kind of free, you're breaking out of the system and you're trying to enjoy life. And by this time, your body's broken down. You're falling asleep on vacation. You can't walk up the mountains anymore. You're not as agile, right? So I'm like, wait a minute, there has to be a better way, right? There has to be. So, the no generation says, okay, you know what? I'm not doing all of that. I'm going to enjoy my money now. And therefore, what they do, which is the opposite end now, is that they're consuming too much and they're consuming almost nothing. They're saving almost nothing. They're consuming almost everything. And there's nothing, if they live long, to really enjoy in the end. So there has to be some balance. There have to be, okay, so my philosophy that I teach people, I said, listen, if you're 20 years old, you get your first job, don't be like, because all right, so let me just break, before I go into that, let me just break up some. The poor person, right? They see money as a commodity to pay bills, right? The middle class see money as, okay, let me build a life, let me have good credit so I can buy the things I see the rich have, right? And I can act like I'm rich. Where the rich person look at money differently. They said, okay, let me first accumulate money. And once I've accumulated, let me see it's working for me. And then once it starts to return for me, I'm going to live off the return. So my goal is to build a pot. And from that pot of money, then I start living on the return. And a person will say, how can I do that? Simple. 20 years old, you get your first job, you start making. Don't live on the money that you have. So therefore, you're making $80,000 a year, right? Save $40,000, live like you're a pauper, live for 5 years. You do this for 5 years, you're saving, after 5 years, you'd have saved $200,000. That $200,000, depending on where you put it, would have grown. And after a while, you can start to say, okay, I have delayed gratification for 5 years. Now let me adjust my lifestyle a little bit. Let me get a nicer car. Let me get a nicer home. Let me do things because now I've put away something that in the future that's going to change my life.
All right, pause.
And
Let me
once,
pause you. This is so deep. Thank you so much, Lindell. There's so many people enjoying it. I want to recognize Rosalind on the super chat. Thank you so much on the YouTube side, supporting the stream and supporting the channel. Thank you for your donation, sis. She says, reminds me of stories my mother and her siblings told me. Listen, we have a lot in common. There's some universal stories that go along with this immigrant, which I say, upbringing and migration patterns. If you went to Toronto, UK, Connecticut, New York, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Atlanta, Baltimore. There's so many other places that many folks from around the world, but particularly in the Caribbean, have kind of ventured to for reasons just as Lindell has explained to figure it out, find a better way at making a good life for them and their families. So you brought up so many good points, Lindell. I was gonna let you roll, but I was like, I gotta slow him down. Do me a favor, look at your phone real quick, Lindell. But I am in a kind of mindset of trying to break down the universal principles that people can utilize to hopefully build a future that they want. So if you're going to do that, I want you to be a part of the kind of the understanding that has to take place for you to become the type of person that you want to be when it comes to money. So he's made some great points. Again, thank you so much, Rosalind, for the donation. But no matter who you are, there's going to be a challenging balance. And I agree with Lindell that there are people who want to spend all their money now, and because they know they not going to live, long past retirement, and this whole idea of live after 65, when I know so many people, God spare us, that don't make it to 65 at all. They die in their 50s. There are people that died recently in their 40s, and it makes me sad. And so you're thinking, save for what? Do what? But this is a whole different mindset that we have to make sure we are not trying to eat everything before we grow everything. And we have to make sure right now we are. I love the seed and the sowing. And I think that's why, especially in the Bible, there was so many different parables about seed and sowing and making sure that people waited for a harvest. And I think, especially because we're not in an agrarian mindset. Again, my father grew up in the city, but my mom grew up in the countryside. So I still got a lot of kind of touches of the seed and the sow and the take time to reap, and how things take, planting first, and then you get the fruit of your labor later. And I don't think in the United States we have a lot of people who get a direct line to see this kind of which I say pattern, where there's a natural correlation, or even metaphor in how life works. How you put down, you put it in the ground, and then 6 weeks later, 6 months later, you got this wonderful harvest. That's not really even taught in the schools, much less people who are more in the urban settings, where we don't really see that correlation of things take time. We want it now. We want it absolutely, in our prime, in our ability to kind of like spend, get the credit line, get the get the which I say borrowed money, so that we can live a certain way. We're more interested in that. And I don't know, how do we shift that? I see some comments here. I appreciate you, Joy. Thank you again. Rosalind says, know that seed sold from the father and the grandfather and the uncle kind of is paid forward. So even as you describe, seed sold by your father, the grandchildren will get. But it had to take, sacrifice. It had to take, what should I say, patience and planning to get to my grandchildren are actually going to get this home or homes, right? I appreciate you, Aisha. Aisha says Islander mindset is so different. I think, again, the ability to kind of see these things firsthand of how life cycles work. I have a big impact, I think, on sometimes our thought process. And I agree with you, Lindell. In the media, it's always about quick returns. Again, follow me, y'all, on social media. Appreciate you, Rosalind, for supporting the channel with your super chat. Again, I hear you, Sin, on the same thing he's saying, immigrant mindset. So Gracious Greatness has a question. Says, does Lindell understand the financial institutions, the system over here in the UK? I'm thinking about if he can help me via one-on-one consultation. So I know you work here in the States. I know you're getting ready to set up some businesses in Jamaica. What do you say to someone in the UK seeking you out, my brother?
Financial principles are pretty much the same everywhere. It's just, you have different soil. So the only difference maybe is the law as it relates to, like over in the US we have 401ks, in Jamaica you don't, right? So you have to basically just understand that law as it relates to, but the general principles are the same. If you understand your money, if you understand that, okay, when I get money in my hand, then money doesn't have a natural seed. So when we move from the agrarian society where there's everything that was created by God, if you believe in God, as a seed in it, right? So basically, it can reproduce on its own. When man creates anything, it doesn't reproduce on its own. So therefore, you have to create the seed. You have to pull out the seed to make your future better. Because if you don't pull out the seed to make your future better, your present is going to be the same way. The future is going to be the same way as your present because you've done nothing to plan for it, right?
Mm.
So the biggest problem that I see with most person is that they don't understand that your future depends on you. The action you take today determine what future you have tomorrow. So you put together a I call it systems and structure, right?
Hmm.
So you have to look at yourself, look at your money, look at where you are, and say, okay, if I want to make a change, the change begin with me. So I'm going to give you an example of one of my clients. I had a client in Connecticut who was living in the suburb in Enfield, had a nice home, a wife and two kids, but they were struggling because the taxes, everything on the home, they were basically at the end of the month, they were trying to keep up this mega class lifestyle. At the end of the month, they didn't have enough money, right? And they were like, okay, we can pay the house, but they're house poor, what we call house poor. But they wanted to feel that wealth effect. They wanted to feel like, okay, I have the nice home, I have the nice cars, and they had the wealth effect, but they had no money. So I call it the fig tree success, where Jesus came up on the fig tree and basically it wasn't bearing fruit, so he cursed it. So the same thing, it looks good, but there's no depth in it. There's no fruits on it. So what he decided to do then, he said, okay, Linda, what do we do? I said, guys, if you guys are willing to make a sacrifice, right? And this is a sacrifice that I'm going to tell you to do. Rent out your home in the suburb, they had some money, a little bit of money saved, buy a 3-family home in Hartford, right? Fix up the attic and you live up there and have somebody rent out the first, second, and third floor and rent out your home. So they basically did that for 5 years. They did that for 5 years, right? Now they're living in the attic. They have no mortgage because the first floor and second floor was paying for the property they just bought. They were making money from the third floor. That's extra cash flow. And the home they have in the suburb was rented out. They did this for 5 years, save a lot of money, and was able to build their dream home, right? Because they made a sacrifice. The thing is that today we don't want to make sacrifices. We don't. For me, when so if you look at my story, there's a point when I sold my travel agency, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? I can't just live off the money I make because then it's going to blow. So then I took a job, and I had a BMW. I sold it and bought a Mitsubishi Mirage because guess what? The BMW, the one of the tire cost $300. I don't know what they cost today, right? But so I'm like, okay, if I sold because I'm transition, I got to make a sacrifice. So I made a sacrifice. I decided from Monday to Thursday I was going to bring lunch, right? Because I took a job. In the transition period, I was going to bring lunch to work, and that money that I saved from bringing lunch to work, I was going to put it in my vacation fund, right? So that I can use that money to go on vacation than going to have lunch. So life is all about making tweaks and making sacrifices. So you look at something, you say, okay, you know what? Maybe I can give up cable TV for a 2-year period and take that money and travel. So I love traveling. I've been all over the world, right? So there's a sacrifice I made in order to do that, right?
Yeah.
And even the things that I failed at, well, I wouldn't call them failed because I call it a lesson learned, because I've done lots of some business I've done, and some I struggle with, and then I realized there is something dawned on me. Okay, the reason why that didn't work is not because you weren't having the people, is because the system and the structure wasn't in place.
I agree.
And anytime there's system and structure, people are going to see it and they're going to exploit it. Your job is to, whatever you're doing, is to have a plan, have a system and structure in place, and basically move and let it operate independent of you.
Oh, wow.
All right. If you look at
You
yourself,
got so much. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your point.
just look at yourself, right? You are functioning. But God created an operating system that operates independent of you. I don't know what my lungs is doing, what my heart is doing, what my kidney is doing, what I
Preaching,
don't know
sir.
what those things are doing, but they're doing something without me telling them what to
Mm,
do. And
mm,
that's the way I'm able to function. So
mm.
if I take myself the same way in
Mm-hmm.
everything I do, I set up things that
A
can
system.
function independent of me, even with my savings. I don't depend upon, okay, Lindell, let's say $2,000 a month. I automatically pull it. So it goes without me being a part of it. So therefore, I don't have the thing to say, okay, let me stop it this month because guess what? I think I want this Gucci shoes. No, it's gone. It's gone to some, and then after.
Automated processes, automated structures. And I've been reading. It's so funny. Lindell, you're doing God's work here today. Everybody enjoying it in the chat. I see the love. Shout out to Xavier S. sending up beautiful cash app. Appreciate. He said he liking the stream and he liking what we doing. Appreciate you. Xavier said for a great interview. Big up Jamaica. Big up Hartford, Connecticut on the cash app. Thank you, brother. I really, really appreciate you supporting. They enjoying it. And he says same thing. That's why there'll be a serious homeless problem in 30 plus years. Listen, it's a word because, again, we're not teaching these principles to anyone. And actually, in the media, after you are a grown up, not teaching it in schools, but after you're a grown up, it's consumerism, buy this, feel better, keep up with the Joneses, look this kind of way. You want to be impressive to your friends. You want to show that you have it. As you're describing this couple, listen, I live in Miami. Down here, it's plenty of that house poorness. It's plenty of the I have to live on the right block. I have to do this. And they're struggling. It hurts me. And again, it's no shame in it. Sacrifice. And I just visited a cousin in Jamaica who I hadn't seen in a long time, who got this beautiful house up in Beverly Hills. Jamaica got a Beverly Hills, y'all. And it looks just like California Beverly Hills. And I went and I was like, bruh, because what we've been doing. I know where I'm gonna stay next time I come. And she was smiling, and I was just telling her how proud I am of her. But she explained, she was like, but we was in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom with 3 kids. Her and her husband shared one room, and the kids shared the other room for damn near 10 years. Mm-hmm. And she was making money. She was really making money. And really what slowed them down, she said there was just no properties up here to purchase. Nobody was in moving and there was no land available. And to do a certain type of development, it would have been too much. So they just waited. But the wait was worth, oh my gosh, the return. Because she said when the kids were little, she said, Sue, they don't even care. They didn't care that we were in that. They were surrounded by love. They did all their school and their activities just like every other kid. But she said those were some of the best times that we had because she wanted me to know. Because we sacrificed. Don't think we just moved up on the house on the hill like that. Those 10 years of her husband working, she working hard and saving up and putting up and investing and as they say, putting your money to work. And you making me think, should I be putting more money to work? But putting your money in a structure so that it works for you, it paid off. So when you see her now, you would think, oh man. But no, she did the same thing that you're describing, which is the long-term structural sacrifice first, seed planting as it were, ability to save or invest while delaying gratification, and therefore when time comes being able to reap. Let's read a few more comments. Thank you so very much. And Drew says, well said. He's enjoying it. Gracious greatness says, I'm no longer in the younger ages. Been guilty of eating everything. Like he said, listen, there's no shame to it. This society that we live in, even globally speaking, if you're in an environment that is, what should I say, encouraging, conducive of, and promoting this kind of short-term mindset, you only live once, hurry up and get it. Listen, the slow and the steady wins the race, but that is not something that we see in pop culture and in media that is, emphasized or promoted. So no shame in that. Thank you for sharing that you can actually change now, sis, or my brother. I'm assuming it's a lady, but listen, you can change now because the principles still apply. So appreciate you sharing and being so open and honest. Joy says, as a single parent, that is the seed I sowed in them. I spent on education because the school wasn't geared for my 2 sons. I hear you. So sacrifices in education side, we understand that those are really important as well. And not for everyone, but for her and your specific individualized scenarios, it can be what makes the difference. That can be the seed. Aisha says, love that philosophy, but this generation doesn't believe. She like, this a loss. They are lost cause. We don't believe that. This book and his philosophies can change it. I can't wait. Are you gonna do an audio book? I'm like, I can't wait to get this audio book. Listening to you
Yeah.
and your accent
Yes,
and getting
I'm gonna do an audiobook. But I
and
tell you
getting the
something.
foundation. I love it. I can't wait for that. I hear you. Joyce says, I relate to you this day due to the brush girl early life. Yes, I hear you. Because Andrew on the super chat showing love. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, Rosam. Now Andrew showing love with the big sponsoring so far this stream. Thank you, Andrew. Showing love says this is a great show. Lord, his Lord his is a ring Jamaican. He's a real Jamaican, I think. Respect. This is how we did. He is right about people wanting immediate gratification. I guess this counts for relationships too. Yeah, we're not talking relationships today, but you got a point. He is on point. You are okay too, Susan. You know what? I appreciate that. Lindell doing work. You want to respond to that?
But you know the funniest thing, right? And I'm gonna talk to two persons, right? But the funniest thing, the reason why this generation is a microwave generation is the generation before, like my dad, as I say, there's times when we didn't have enough, right? Where nothing was given to us and he was putting away too much. You see, we can overdo it. We can basically create more seed and people are suffering. If that's happening, they're going to see it at, I ain't going to be like them. Hey, you know, all of this stuff over there and there's no food in the house. I'm hungry. You know, sometimes the light is cut off. So no, I'm going to live my life. So basically, no, they want everything now, right?
Right.
It's to, the key to life is balance. Is to say, okay, you know, nobody's asking you to sacrifice forever. Sacrifice, if you sacrifice for the first 5 years, you can enjoy the life you want, especially when you're young. If you're older, I'm going to teach you a key if you're older. Life comes to those who are prepared. So once you understand about money, learn as much as you can about it. So if it comes to you, you can keep it. And trust me, when you're prepared, it comes. I don't know how it comes, but it comes. The reason why a lot of persons win the lotto and boom, everything is gone is because they weren't prepared. The money comes, they don't understand money. They don't understand how money works, how to keep money. So therefore, they think that this money is never going to go away. I can just spend. I can give away. They hire,
Floss. Look like
yeah,
you got it.
yeah.
Miami culture. Yeah, yeah.
Right, they hire cousin and them to manage the money. The cousin and them don't know nothing about money, right? And
They worse off than you. Don't know
yeah,
because
but
they
so
didn't earn it.
right. So therefore, and before you know it, the money is gone, right? But if you are prepared, if you start taking up some books, reading about money, if you start understanding the principles, because in life there's law, just like with the law of gravity, there is the law of increase, law of attraction, law of investing. Learn it, consume it.
Reap
You're
as
re-
you sow, you will reap. Reap and
and
sowing is a
as
law of
you're
we call
ready,
those universal laws. Yeah.
all right, as you're ready, when you do that, just the same way like when you buy the car, that Mercedes, that blue Mercedes, you start seeing them because your mind is now ready. You're now open up to money because you prepare yourself. You'll start meeting people who say, "Oh, hey, listen, I'm going to give you this big contract. I'm going to give you," and then all of a sudden you say, "Wait a minute, how did I?" Because they start coming to you because you're prepared. If you're not prepared, you will never get it. This persons that I've worked with who say, "Okay, you know what? I'm making $80,000, but if I was making $200,000, I'd be better off." And their checking account is the same balance when they're making 80,000, when they're making 200,000, because they've never had any money discipline. And because of that, it doesn't matter how much money you make.
Right.
Until you respect money and understand how it works, how it multiplies, and you have that knowledge. Because what did Solomon ask for? Something to rule his people. Solomon asked for wisdom and understanding.
My
So
goodness.
once you have wisdom and understanding, the money will come. When you get that promotion, you will keep the money and you will set things up. So it's never too late.
That's what's up. Yeah. I'm thankful for that encouragement because a lot of people feel like they're so behind and they never. Thank you, Andrew, again for sponsoring today's stream. Yeah, it can be like, especially if you don't have the guideposts, a lot of us get stuck into our parents' paradigm, the wonderful things they taught us, or maybe the things that they hurt us indirectly by. And we can love them, and we can also say there are patterns that they taught us that weren't serving us. But it's up to us to re-educate ourselves at one point or another, to start to embrace and to learn new ways in terms of how to process what it's like to have money, and which I say develop a better relationship with money. Because so many of us, again, if your mom or dad didn't have, or if your mom and dad overindulged, or whatever kind of situation you were brought up in, it has an influence on your mindset towards this subject matter. So again, if that mindset doesn't serve you, it's up to you to change it. Let me read a few more comments, and we're going to get into more of these principles, because I understand that in your book you're using biblical principles to teach people these universal truths that we're talking about. So I can't wait to get more into it. Let's see what the chat is saying. Aisha says, but we need to teach this generation that structure, because if we leave it, our children, they don't want to learn on planting the seed. We're old school when this was taught in the house. Okay, good for you, sis. Find his new book. It's in the description on Amazon. You can just look up Lindell Douglas, 5 Steps on Amazon, excuse me, and you'll find him. We're getting a lot of amens, Joyce says. Boise says, indeed, I'll be acquiring a copy of your book. I have an accounting background too. Retired. Congrats. Thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. Appreciate you ordering that and supporting Mr. Lindell Douglas. What do you mean 30 plus years? Meaning 30. So Ghostface, you're probably saying there's almost a problem now, but we're saying that it's probably going to increase even more because people haven't invested and people haven't put aside for a rainy day or planned or developed a structure. Help us all, God, to understand money more and gaining that knowledge. Both parents in the home and teaching their kids value. Listen, it's again almost a privilege now. But even if you don't have that perfect structure, you can still teach your kids, right? We want to make sure everybody has the structural principles to pass along and learn now if you never got it, right? Yep, we can get as listen, we can lose everything, but if you have faith and work hard, you can rebuild it again. Amen to that. Thank you. Easy gospel piano lessons in the village says a man of resources, a man of options. So framing it a different way. Absolutely. Appreciate you. Aisha adds, it's a mindset and faith on yourself. Don't let your past defeat you. I hear you on that. A lot of us are stuck in what could have happened, the job we didn't get, the people that didn't help us, the parents that didn't give us the knowledge, all of that. It doesn't matter. You got to live presently, and you got to pick up where you are from where you are now, so that you don't get lost in the sauce. It is easy to go back and wish you could have, would have, should have. Help me, oh God, clear the past, always, often. I'm born again. I'm starting fresh. I have new opportunities. New opportunities are coming to me. I had a pastor always saying, money coming to me from the north, south. I used to laugh at it. And I used to be like, are we supposed to be praying that? Like, it was so funny. But it was what kind of church was it? It was like an independent church, kind of, but he would be like, in his prayers, he'd be like, money coming to me from the north. And I was saying amen, but I was like, are we supposed to be praying that? But again, religion can have you in a complex mindset towards money as well. So you got to be careful that you have the correct principles in your mind, or if you didn't develop them or weren't given those tools, you start to seek out principles that's going to serve you better in the future. Doug on the super chat. Want to support this stream today? I appreciate you. Already supported with your gifts, a member of my Patreon. Always looking out, and also for great collabs too, Doug. I really appreciate you. And here today supporting this live stream. Thank you everybody who has super chatted. I really, really, really appreciate it. So Lindell, we're gonna get
one quick second. My laptop battery is running low. Let me plug it in.
Go on, go get the charger. Go on, go get the charger. Okay. Let me read a couple more. This is live. Ladies and gentlemen, this is live. Let me mute Lindell's side so he don't say nothing crazy while he go get the charger. If you're liking this stream, support the content. Thank you again, everybody who has supported me today and throughout my journey. It has been a wonderful show, and we have a few more shows coming up before the end of the year. Can you believe it? I cannot believe sometimes this year has gone by so quickly. I have like literally 2 more weeks left in a year, and it's like, whoa, pressure. I felt a lot of pressure this week. I'm like, I was supposed to do so much more this year and trying to plan what I want to do next year. It's just overwhelming. So sometimes you just have to slow down and listen to others. I hope to do a little bit more of that in terms of my own self-development, listening to, I was on Eventbrite earlier, looking at events and Zooms that are, some I can just listen to. I was actually booking one. I saw that is a virtual event on time management here in Miami, and another other couple of events. My cousin was like, "Don't get snatched up by going to some of these events." But I was telling her, I was like, I need I need to be fed. I'm always feeding. I need to be fed as well. So trying to find ways to improve all around. I'm one of those people. And again, sometimes you get out of balance. Certain areas of your life feels out of balance. Money can feel out of balance. You can ignore it. You can put it to the side. You can bury your head in the sand and pretend, okay, no, everything will work out. It doesn't work like that. After a while, it comes at you fast. So we want to be more proactive when it comes to money, especially if you are not comfortable with the background that you have in money. It's okay. Learning from others is the key. Trying to find good, solid information and mentors who can help teach you the right way to develop your money strategy, because it's a strategy. It is as he says, it's a structure. It's not a happenstance. It just doesn't happen on its own. Indirectly, we have to look at, okay, I'm a planner when it comes to kids. I'm a planner when it comes to my family, or whatever it is that you're involved in your businesses. But if you are not looking at the revenues and planting seeds, and as he calls them, structures that are going to give you a long-term benefit, because you're afraid you're not going to live long enough to do, honey, we live in longer than you think. There are people that don't get to, but there are a lot of us that will, praise God. So while we have that opportunity, again, today is a new day. We have to start fresh and accept the fact that, okay, maybe I didn't have the best tools growing up. Maybe my parents were those spenders. Maybe I never saw anybody invest and had a return, and they had a piece of property, or they had some other residual income that was coming back to them. Maybe they never had that. And so it's foreign to you. For someone who at 20 and 22 years old to actually see themselves buying, there's so much about a vision I want to ask Lindell, and I think that it's going to help a lot of people watching this show, that there is going to hopefully shift your ideas of what is possible, and again, get you in the game if you have not been in the game. So Lindell has a new book out, guys. We're talking to him. It's called 5 Steps to Financial Freedom. I want him to pivot into the book a little bit more before we go, so we can understand. And I'll drop the link. If you have questions directly for Lindell, I'll be able to put a link in the chat, and you can click on it and come right into the conversation. You don't have to show your face. It could be just your voice. You'll come in the back right here on the stream, and just like a Zoom, you can click on the link and you become a part of our Zoom here. But Lindell, you can unmute yourself, sir. I just muted you to make sure you weren't gonna ouch, 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 ouch. But if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button, y'all. Show some love, share the show, leave a comment, and I will read a couple more as I bring Lindell up. Tilt it down a little bit, Lindell, for me. You like to put more of you. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. I like to see all of you, brother, and you. I want us to look up your nose. I want us to see you. Okay. Gracious Greatness says, thank you for pronouncing the name correctly. And says that, yes, it's Gracious Greatness. I'm a man. Are you? From the African diaspora. Okay, big love to you, brother. Thank you for being here. Yes, Joy Kane says, rebel by nature will always be. My parents never agree on the way forward. I hear you. I hear you. Yes, Lindell is doing work today talking about men and finance, and just finance in general, through his new book. And we're going to get more into some of the principles, Lindell. Of course, if people got to buy the book, go to Amazon, pre-order the book, support. And of course, I cannot wait for your audio. Oh, hey, 5 step, put it closer to the screen, put it closer. Oh, 5 steps to financial freedom. Yes. Okay. You can get your copy on Amazon. The link is in the chat. Yes, Johnny. How are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Amen. Last to the call. It's okay. Speaking true words, she says. Johnny de la Plata. Glad to have you, sis. Appreciate you being here. Yes, this is true. Joy says those words didn't doesn't sit in my home. Could would we would live yeah. You gotta live in the present, and so many people are trapped by their past. I'm thinking about what I want to do my next conference on, Lindell. I don't know if it should be about relationships or what. Because a lot of people in the home, it gets broken from there. We get the traumas from the people that we love the most, and it can kind of hurt us in all areas. We got to really be strong to break free and change our mindset quickly if we can do it. God help me. Yes, Aisha, I agree. Love how our paths cross. I'm very blessed. God put people on your path, and I'm grateful watching how your journey has changed. Oh, thank you, sis. I really appreciate that. Lindell, so we're going to get a little bit deeper into the book. Hit the like button, y'all, as you are going to describe some more of these principles and why you felt they were important to teach, enough to write about. And I'm going to drop the link. Let me actually drop the link as you start to describe. So tell us more about what we're going to gain from the book.
All right. There was someone who mentioned something about age, right? Don't forget, there's a lot of people who became very successful very late in life. And, there's a saying that says that experience teaches wisdom, right? But that's not necessarily true, because if not, every single old person would be wise, right? It's only when you learn from your experience then you have gained wisdom. So if you have acquired knowledge over that period of time, then you can apply that knowledge at any age. I think the guy who started Kentucky, he was in his 60s, right? When he became extremely successful. And so I don't want anyone to look at themselves and say, I'm either too young, I'm too old to apply principle. When you understand certain principles, you can apply them at any age and understand that I must, in order for me to keep success, or because there's a lot of persons who sow seeds and, just it never materialized for them because there is another principle of keeping what you sow, right? And it's not just sowing seed, because anybody can sow seeds, but you can sow seeds, but there's certain things that you must do in order to maintain, because all right, think about it this way, and everything you see in nature, it's applying in your life. So when I plant a seed, the first thing that comes to kill the seed is weeds, right? So you got to clear out those weeds. And as the tree is growing, when the tree is growing, sometimes some fungus come to try to kill the tree. And all of a sudden you have a tree now, and the trees start to put out branches, and then the blossoms start coming, and an insect coming to eat your blossoms. And then, okay, so the fruits are coming. You get fruits. You've survived that. Fruits are coming. And insects is coming to eat the fruits before you can even get them. Then you have, in Florida, we have the squirrels and the raccoons and the iguanas coming to eat your fruit. You got to protect them. So throughout your life, you've got to live your life according to wisdom and understanding, which means that you should be constantly learning. It's not just about formal education. It's about, okay, let me apply specific knowledge to situation that I'm in. So for instance, if I'm a nurse and I want to be the best nurse there is, then when I finish school, I'm going to learn some more. I'm going to try to see, okay, on my floor, maybe I can go and learn some principle. And especially now we have information is right at our fingertips. Is to constantly always improving yourself so that you're 10 times better than anybody else in your field. So you become an expert in your field, that you are the resource person that everybody's calling on, because then you make yourself valuable. And when you make yourself valuable, they can't do without you. And even if they fire you, guess what? You're so valuable, somebody has to pick you up and pay you more money, right? So it's that. You have to believe in yourself so much that you want a part of the growth that we talk about is investing in you. It's saying, like the principle that I have, I've talked about 5 principles. First one is believe in your dream, right? You got to believe in that dream that you have as a kid. go back, look at it, because it's important. Because you need to look at that, and then you need to now make a plan, right? Because now we're doing structures and system, right? So once you start doing structures and systems, your plan is your roadmap, right? And what you do is that you break up your plan now, because if your dream is over here and you're over here, you need to build a bridge. So your plan is the bridge to get there. And on the bridge, you have objective that you need to meet. So I'm going to have my short term, I'm going to have my midterm, and I'm going to have my long term. Once I accomplish my short term, it helps me to get to my midterm. So I'm taking one step at a time, one step at a time. And once I accomplish those, it's bringing me into my long term. Boom, I'm in my dream, right? So you put together a roadmap. Just like if I'm going from Miami to Orlando, I map out the route that I'm going to take, or I put in my GPS, because I need something to direct me so I don't go off course.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing about most of us in life is that we don't have a plan for our life. So if we don't have a plan for our life, guess what? We're just like the breeze, that's like the leaf blowing in the wind. We're going all different direction, but we have no destination.
Right, right. So the first principles I'm hearing you say is that no matter who you are, you have to, and I don't people do, I hear people say this a lot too on the coaching and the consulting side, that people don't know what they want. So if people don't know what they want, say they didn't have like this kind of drive that you have, or now they're trying to discover what they want, how do they find that, Lindell? Because I think sometimes that is a problem, that people really do not know what they want, or they know they want financial freedom, but they're not sure that okay, maybe I'll buy an Airbnb, or maybe I'll buy some land somewhere that'll appreciate. They don't have those visions. How do they develop those visions?
All right. So sometimes for a lot of persons, they don't know what they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what they want. And while you don't know what you want, it's important for you to basically find somebody who knows what they want, right? And just let them be your mentor or work for them, so that you can study them. Because in studying them, you're going to discover something in you, right? And you're going to say, oh, a light bulb is going to go off. And you're going to say, okay, because in studying, because it's important. Sometimes what we want to do is that we just want to jump from where we are into our own dreams. But sometimes, no, sometimes we have to go and, and the Bible says sometimes you have to go to Egypt. Sometimes you have to go into somebody else's dream, work for somebody else's dream, right? And until you figure out yours. In the meantime, you're gathering seeds. So when you land on what you want, you're prepared. Nothing comes to you. I'm going to say this 100 times. Nothing comes to you until you're prepared. Because anytime it comes to you and you're not prepared, you're going to lose it.
Right.
Right? So so you go and work for somebody. Just go work for somebody. Go find somebody who's going somewhere. I tell people, so you need to have at least 5 friends. You don't want 100. 5 friends. Make it be 5 persons who are doing better than you, who are going somewhere, and you learn from them. You learn from them, because success principles are taught. They're not born.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You learn something from somebody along the way. Maybe it's your grandfather. Maybe somebody invested something in you. And if you don't have that, it's the biggest problem in the world today is lack of fatherhood. And because lack of fatherhood, people need valid validation. And because they don't have validation, what happened is that they're lost. Right? Because they never had anybody to tell them they're great. They never had anybody to tell them they can do this. They don't have the validation of a father. Father's Day is worth. I mean, Arbor Day in the U.S. is more popular than Father's Day, right? Fathers are discounted in society, and fathers is important to help you to unlock your dreams.
Amen. Wow. There's a whole deep conversation around that. But yeah, I do think, I would say there's a lot of insecurity in society. That's the way I would see it. There are people who will hate on you because they're really insecure in their own selves, or follow what you're doing, or mad, or I don't know what you call them, frenemies, or what you want to call them. But are some people that are just, friend or foe, because they are either admiring what you do, admiring where you are, and want that, but don't believe they can have that. And therefore, when people are in like a dark place about who they are, they want to draw you into that dark place with them. So I feel like there's a
Right. But
lot of people. Go ahead.
But you know the important thing about that is this, right? It's all
Hmm.
those persons, you can use them to propel you. You see, what I used to do, anytime a person tells me I can't do something, it makes me try even more to do it because I want
Yeah.
to prove them wrong, right?
Right.
So I use them as my fuel to get to where I want to go. You tell me, listen, boy, you can't. The bottom line is that you must always remember this. Anytime anybody's talking about you, is because you're ahead of them.
My Lord.
A person who is more successful than you will never talk terrible about you.
Word. You got an
It's
amen
usually the
choir. You got
person,
an amen.
yeah, it's usually the
Yes.
person who's behind you, who's
Yeah.
looking at you or beside you, and you need to pull yourself away from them because the only way you're going to go forward is that you have to find a group that's you're looking up to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That you want them to mentor you. If you don't tell them, you're learning. You're like a sponge. You're picking up stuff because what you want to do is to acquire understanding.
Right.
You want to, you see, when you're exposed to things, right? It's almost like, okay, I wanted to be an accountant, but I didn't understand there was something called a financial advisor. Financial advisor is an accountant, right? But at the same time, we're working with people, and I enjoy working with people. I just didn't want to work with numbers.
Right.
I like people. So because
Right.
I like people, I want to work with people. I like to see people be successful. It gives me an immense joy when I can unlock something for someone and turn somebody from 100,000 into 7 million.
Mm.
It makes me happy,
Right.
right? So therefore, I find myself when I was younger, I could balance anything. So I would find the very penny because I would unlock in numbers. That wasn't giving me any joy. But when I can work with somebody's life and I can unlock certain things for you and look at you and say, okay, the reason why this is not happening, and especially when you're listening, and then you're seeing you're going from strength to strength, and every year we look at your network and we say, look at it. Last year you were worth 100,000. This year you're 150. Next year, look at it, you're 300,000, and we're seeing you progressing and you're growing. It gives me joy. So I
Mhm.
understood something about myself, right? That my validation is to see others succeed. And therefore, it helps me to succeed because helping unlocking people and I'm getting paid to do it. So as they're successful, I'm successful.
That's wonderful. Listen, there's no shame in going to take a job. I think sometimes people who are not necessarily, as you call it, prepared, and I don't know if you could ever be prepared to be an entrepreneur, honestly, but you can, more prepared than others by working for people, by going through the stages, the necessary steps of professional development, of mindset development, looking at what the person that hired you thinks like, does right, does wrong, things you would change, things you would enhance. It is important to get that training ground, but a lot of people don't necessarily know that they need mentorship or want to be mentored. They think they're going to jump out there and be the big fish in the sea. I see this gracious greatness. I just had to point this out. Shanquella Robinson, rest in peace, was a victim of them kind of friending me, the people that want to be you so bad. She was making money. She was a braider. She had a very robust internet Instagram and whatnot following, and you had friends that hate you to the or jealous of you to the point they literally gonna take your life. I hear you. This made me smile, but I didn't want to interrupt. Lindell, shout out to gracious Chris.
You
Gracious
see,
goodness.
the
So
prop
what do you want? You want some curry goat and jerk chicken or the oxtail and the soupies? You being but we try to be serious and then get people to the next level in life. But I like a little levity in my conversations. But go continue your thought. Go ahead.
You see, the problem is that we stay in a situation too long because we're stuck in the familiar, and that's one of the worst thing that kills our dream. Is that okay? You know what? I'm familiar with mama and them, right? But guess what? If they're not uplifting themselves, all they're gonna do is to suck you down.
My
You've
Jesus.
got to pull yourself out of that situation, build yourself up, get yourself to a place. Then you can help pull them up. It's like you're traveling on the airplane and says, listen, if oxygen masks come, put it over your face first before you help the child, which makes sense because if you're trying to help them, you're going to be dead, right? But if you do it first and then you put you're breathing properly, then you're helping the child. That's wisdom. So sometimes we're in the familiar too long. We go back to where we're from in Jamaica or whatever. We go back to the same place where we grew up. Those persons have never grown. So their mindset is different from yours. And of course, they're not going to like you because guess what? You're showing them up.
What they could have, should have been. Yeah.
Yes. And they're
Wow.
looking at you like, wait a minute. We all used to walk barefoot together. Who you think you are?
Yeah.
Right? And then that's where envy and resentment come in.
Envy,
Where,
jealousy.
yeah,
Man.
where you don't need to do that. You need to pull yourself away. You need to pull yourself away and you send something back to help the community because you never forget where you're coming from, but you don't need to spend a long time there. You might pass through real quick and get out of there because you're no longer at that place. And now you're going to be in a place where you're not familiar, and that's going to lead to either somebody get envy and kill you, somebody do this because you don't belong anymore. You're now a square peg trying to fit in a round hole.
My God. There's so much you're saying there, Lindell. So good. Y'all, if you want to come up and join the conversation, the link has been dropped. You can ask your questions in the chat. I have certified financial planner, Mr. Lindell Douglas, now author of 5 Steps to Financial Freedom. You can find it on Amazon. He's given so many gems. It's like my heart is full, even if trying to apply it to my own life and who I need to cut off and who I need to not go see as often or do a quick "I love you" text. And okay, that's about all we can do because we're at 2 different levels mentally. Honestly, not about the finances per se, but you can rock with me if we're on the same mental level. But sometimes you've outgrown people mentally, and we're still trying to stick again in those same paradigms. So when we talk about the paradigm shift, because you wanted the paradigm shift in the title today, you've described many already when it comes to how your mind sets the tone, the expectations, and the deepest part of what you've shared. And I'm like, is that metaphysical? Is that biblical? Where'd that come from? That you don't get it till you're ready. Where are you basing that from? Your life experience?
My life experience and the Bible. You look at everybody in the Bible, right? They never get it until they're ready. They never get it until they're ready. Because, all right, let's look at Abraham. God promised Abraham, say, hey, I want to give you this land, right? But in Abraham's lifetime, he wasn't ready because it was a small amount of them. They couldn't conquer the land. So he never got it. Other person got it later, right? So if you look at, Mary, when he met Mary and he says, hey, you're highly favored, right? Okay. So Mary is highly favored and she accepted it. And then she moved and she goes speak to her husband. She's showing she's ready. So basically you can get it. The baby wasn't aborted, right? So the thing is that most of the time, sometimes some things come into our life and we abort it because we're not ready for it, right? So you have to be ready because if you're not ready, it's going to create a mess. Look at so many persons in real life who got a promotion and they got a promotion to where their character wasn't ready. And what happened? A huge mess. So in life, if you don't want to, once you're ready, the army doesn't go out to battle until it's ready.
Understood.
Right? So you got to get yourself ready. We're seeing this whole thing in Ukraine and the Russian army, you're seeing an army that wasn't ready.
My goodness.
Underestimate your enemy. So you've got to look at, say, okay, you know what? Let me get understanding. Because once I get understanding, once I'm ready, there's a thing that says build it and it will come. If you do it, of course people are going to come because it's ready.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with me and business. Right? Where I do things and I'm seeing 8,000 people, this coming. And then at the end of the thing, one night I was looking, I said, where's the money? Right? And I'm looking at it, Suzette, and I'm like, wait a minute.
No, I have that feeling often. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm pouring in, and it ain't no money like that.
Right, but I'm looking at the structure that I had, and my structure had a lot of holes.
That's the issue.
So therefore, the money that would have come to me didn't come because I wasn't ready, because I didn't have the right structures and system in place, because I may put friend over here and friend over here and friend over there, but the friend don't have understanding how to run that area. And because of that, people see the what you call that? They see a loophole and they exploit it. They see a hole in the fence, they go through it. Right? They see someone, wait a minute, I can sneak through here, and they come in. So it's not that what you're doing wasn't successful because you draw the people, but you weren't ready. You didn't have the right system. And it's so much, if you look at any part of your life, right? And you say, okay, wait a minute. Why is it I'm keep coming back to the same place? You keep going back to the same place because you're not ready.
So people
And
don't
until
understand.
you put that structure
Mhm.
and that thing, you're not going to be ready. You're going to be going around. I tell people, I said, the most important thing you do, and it was hard for me to even, because I was like, is to have a cash reserve or something I call a war chest, right? So, and I at first when I became a financial advisor, I didn't believe it. I would tell people, I said, in my own life, I didn't want to do it because I'm like, my money could be working harder. Why do I need to put away 6 months expenses to give the bank my money
To
to
hold on to
hold
give to
on
other
to,
people to
and
invest.
they're lending it out, and I could do things with my money. And as soon as I move the money, I have an emergency.
Ah,
And then all of a sudden, now I'm running like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to get money to meet my emergency, right? Because it's like life is almost
the teacher, yeah.
like a thief, right? So the thief is walking around and it's looking at houses to break into. And if the house is secure with a alarm and stuff, they're not going to go for that house unless they have a good plan. But if your front door is wide open, nobody's there, guess what? They're going to come in, they're going to steal, they're going to rob you. But if you say, okay, you know what? One other thing that I noticed in my life, if I don't have money, I have money problems. But as soon as I put up my reserves and I have 1 year money put away somewhere, my car don't break down as often. These things
Right.
are not happening to me anymore because guess what? I have something. It's like you're going to war. You have a war chest. You have way to feed your soldier. You have a ammunition depot. You have different things to supply. Because if you don't have it, then all they're going to do is, so what they try to do sometime in the war, they try to cut you off from those things, right? And if
Yeah.
they can cut you off, they can win. But in life, you got to have a plan, you got a strategy. So you say, okay, you know what? Yes, I know I'm not making any money on this money, but it's not there for it. It's sacred money to protect me in case something goes wrong. And
It's
then,
true.
okay,
I think you've said so much there. Y'all see that Mr. Lindell Douglas is a very deep thinker, a prophetic, kind of, what should I say, teacher when it comes to understanding the relationship, the cosmic relationship that's happening between us, the divine, our creator, whatever you call him, God, Jesus, whatever you get there through, to understanding that the order of your life and, what should I say, what the life lessons are that you're learning are all connected. And I think sometimes if we're not acknowledging those in the bigger cosmic sense, the divinity in what we are learning, the reasons why I stop now almost every time when I go through an issue or struggle, and yes, I have many, and I say, God, what is the lesson, Father? What is the lesson? What am I supposed to see through this experience? It wasn't just to like tear me down or make me feel bad or have me cry on my pillow. There had to be a real lesson, either about preparedness, who I'm working with, what I thought in terms of measuring my expectation of others, how I would go about this differently. I'm really big on now letting the journey teach me and kind of flowing in it that way, as opposed to being kind of opposition to this having a purpose. Even the failure, even the challenge, even the distraction, even the setback has a purpose. And understanding that if I'm not gathering that principle, if I'm not putting that in as what you call my war chest, I'll probably see it again. I'll probably have to go down this road again. I'll repeat the same, I don't move from a year later. I don't move from 2 years later. It is almost in my face. Did you get that lesson? Did you get that lesson? Did you get that lesson? And until you start to realize life is not working against you, life is working for you. And again, I know that it sounds so, woo woo and super spiritual, but it's not. I think there are just cosmic, universal laws that are existing no matter what you believe in, that are going to operate. And the sooner we become either aware or accepting and tapped into this type of framework in terms of us and our divine nature, and why life is actually a gift and actually a teacher and actually a preparer, we are going to be stuck in this kind of frame of thinking that is like life is coming at you, life is here to hurt you, the difficulties are what make me or define me, instead of a shift of like, man, I didn't know what I didn't know back then. That's why I made those decisions. I wasn't as mature or disciplined back then. That's why I didn't do. I had no framework. I had no parenting that kept me on track, or any type of, support to allow me to do the things that I thought, looking back now would have been the best. It's okay. But the picking or making a decision now to pick up the right principles or the awareness or the tools that you never had is so super important to like creating. And I don't know if you're a person, it sounds like you are, this idea that you kind of quote create the life you want by the preparedness principle, I guess is what I'm hearing from you.
Mhm.
But there's so many people that are ignoring that part of it and looking for, again, the past to blame, the people to blame, and even yourself. But I think that can be super self-limiting. What are your thoughts?
All right. I know this is not a religious forum, right? But I tell you something. Let's just draw an illustration for you. The Bible talks about a man, right, that for 38 years went to a pool trying to get healed. 38 years. And when I read that, I was like, why would I keep going somewhere for 38 years trying to get healed? And then when Christ showed up and he says, I have nobody to put me in the water. So you're telling me you go somewhere for 38 years not having anybody to put you in the water, and you don't want for one of the year ask somebody to come with me and put me in the water? So for 38 years you're doing it. So which tells me what? He was stuck in a comfort zone. He was The initial intent when he left out was to basically go to get healing. But after a while he become comfortable going. So sometimes we're in a thing where we're just doing it because that's what we do. But we have no plans. We have no structure. And the funniest thing, when Christ shows up and he says, I have no man. And you'd think he would say, would you put me in the water? But he's talking about his problem. There's a solution right in front of you, and you're talking about your problem rather than quickly say, okay, I need somebody to put me in water. You're here, put me in the water. So it just tells you that we're stuck in our comfort zone. And because we're stuck in our comfort zone, we have helplessness.
My God.
And when we have helplessness, we can't succeed. And when we're looking for things to happen, everything to happen now, I call it a microwave generation. If you have those three principles, you're not going to make it. You have to change your mindset. And you have to say, okay, all right, let me see what I'm dealing with. Let me see how is it I can get knowledge to what I'm dealing with, and how can I create a plan to change it. Because once I create a plan, I'm ready. You see, that man wasn't ready to get healing. But once the mindset change, you're ready. And when you're ready, it finds you. The same thing if you're looking for a spouse. If you're not ready, you work on you first. And after you get everything ready, right, then basically now you open up yourself to get that. What I do is I think we had this conversation before. I write down what I'm looking for. And when I write down what I'm looking for, it opens up my mind to see, because now I'm training my mind. I train my eyes to let in what I wanted to let in. Because if my eyes let in everything that I see, I'll go crazy. So my eyes only let in what I program it to let in. But if I write down and says, listen, I want somebody who does this, who does this, who of this, who of that. And I have a list, and I look at my list for a while so that it's in my memory, then all of a sudden I'm open up to that now. And then I meet somebody and I start talking to them, and we start connected, because I'm like, book, that means that means, and I'm not coming out and saying, book, that means that. And you know where I learned this principle? From playing golf, right? So I'm playing golf, and I realize I'm hitting my shot bad all the time. So I said, okay, how can I improve? So I go back and I write down everything that I need to do. And when I go to hit the ball, I vision it where I want it to go. And I also remember my steps. So at first I was awkward. Then I become mechanical because I'm just following these steps. And then I become an expert because I'm following through now, because I've retrained myself. And it's because I'm opening up my mind differently. You You have a lot to do with you. So you have creative energy in you. So because you have creative energy in you, you write down, and that's part of my book. In the plan, the book is kind of like a workbook. So I want you to think about stuff and write them in. Right? So you're changing the way you're thinking. And once you're changing the way you're thinking, all right, let me give you a case in point. You're an attorney. You do accident and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
personal injury. Hmm.
If you talk to witnesses to the same accident, right? Five people, they give you five different stories.
Absolutely.
All right. You know why? Because they are trained to think a certain way. So they'll see things based upon how they socialize. So they
Mm,
will tell you, but when you measure it, it balances out, except for the little. This one may say something a little bit different. This one is a little bit different. This one is a little bit. But overall, you get the gist of what's really happened. But
right.
it's with a little bit of piece of their personality in it that they don't even know they put in there, because that's the way their mind operates. Your mind, your eyes are only seeing
Socialize.
what
Yes.
you program it to
Conditioned.
see.
Yes.
So you need to recondition yourself, because, all right, you are, you find yourself, these jingles for these commercials, you never study them.
Hmm.
And you're saying, how do I know this thing? Because there's a piece of you in your subconscious that it's feeding to without you knowing it. And it's
Mm,
conditioned the way you think, it's conditioned what you buy. People, they know Black Friday X number sale is going to happen. You know why? Because you've been conditioned all the way to buy this good. So you are the one who has to recondition yourself to say, I'm going to stay on the path of my plan. I'm not going to make somebody else's plan for me to be a Black Friday number condition what I buy. But I know, okay, I need to get to this part by this age. So I'm staying focused, right? Because if not, you find sometimes you see some thoughts come into your head. You're like, where the heck did this come from? And you're like,
conditioning.
yeah,
This is
because
so good, Linda. I'm gonna clip this. This is so good. Let me read a couple of We have a time for maybe a couple more of these very interesting and effective principles. Financial freedom, as Mr. Lindell Douglas is teaching us, comes from the mindset first. So if we are limited in our mindset, if we are conditioned to think a certain way, great analogy with the car accident, and understanding the world is only through one little small filter that is not serving us. We have to really understand, how do we open up our minds? How do we reprogram, as he calls it, how we think about ourselves, how we think about money, even relationships, if you will, and that you're ready. I hear you. Hey, Lauren Lovely in the building saying prodigal son got it and lost it all. He was not ready, y'all.
he
He
wasn't
was not
ready.
ready. If you don't know that
He
story from the
wasn't
Bible,
ready.
go ahead and read it. Joy, I don't know you personally, but I don't believe this. My only success is my two sons. I don't believe that. I don't know you. I don't know you. But she adds 23, my last son admission letter for university, and Ian and I'm going to refresh my skills. Oh, okay, wonderful. So what you've done for your sons is give them a wonderful set foundation, and then you are going to refresh your skills too. I applaud you, because a lot of the time those seeds we plant are not for ourselves. I get that, especially from like a mom like yourself, that there's a lot of sacrifice for others in your seed, but it'll come back to you, sis. God is not sleeping. God is not sleeping. And it is your time, it sounds like. They're gone. They're going to start their lives, and it's time for you to refocus on you now. I know there's greatness in you. So go ahead and embrace it, and change and shift, as we're talking about even right now, the mindset towards your own self, and you towards your own journey. You have a lot of success. You have a lot of success. Thank you, Doug. Says excellent advice. He's loving the conversation. Boise, thank you. Says I love this platform. The young entrepreneurs could benefit from this form. I appreciate you saying that. Joy adds, know the story I read is an example. Know the story I read. It is an example of the selfish nature of people. I hear you. Doug says you can program your own subconscious. I've been reading about that for years. I've been kind of scared of it, honestly.
Don't
From
be.
cybernetics and all kinds of stuff. But I think I need to pay back attention to it. It's interesting, and I don't think it's by accident that we're having this conversation today. Yes, Andrew Walker says amen to Church of Finance and Good Sense. Yes, Aisha with a long post. Let me get us up here so we can read it. Says, look at the only thing I know. I was a foreclosure business and was afraid to leave something I was familiar with. I hear you. I took a leap of faith on myself and took a leap, and now I'm in building my confidence and leaning or learning something new so that I can continue to build my clientele. When I when my flower flourish, I can build my garden, amen, and be successful in my business. I have to start over and over since a child with a sick single mom. Wow. My mother and grandma planted the seed of faith and they taught me to believe in you. Well said, Aisha. We have time for a couple more principles. I know you are a deep brother, Lindell, so we're going to wrap up. But any other mindset and paradigm shifting, thank you for sharing that, Aisha. Hopefully it inspires someone. Do you want to respond, Lindell?
You know, there's so much there, right, with Aisha, and sometimes the biggest, I think Joy said something earlier, and she said her only success is her son, right? But think about it. If you were able to raise two successful sons, that says a lot about you.
Amen.
You gotta pat yourself on the back. There's so
Amen.
many persons who failed, right? And you are so that says a lot about you. You did that. You are successful. They are not the success you are. They are success in their own realm, but you are. So take that and build on that. There's so much we discount ourselves. There's a time when um there's a time when I bought a car and I didn't think I deserve it. I remember that when I bought a Jaguar and I was like, Lindell, you're a guy from the country. You're in this 300 thing. What are you doing in a Jaguar? I did not believe that I deserved to drive a car like that. And for years I feel terrible. Every time I go in the car, I didn't feel somebody, actually, one of my clients came to me and says, man, it's time you get rid of this Miss Barrage. I've introduced you to so many people and you're showing up. You don't look successful. You need to act the part. And they literally took me to the dealership and I bought the car under protest. And I never felt comfortable in my own success. Never felt comfortable until I've learned that, hey, wait a minute. I don't worship cars. I don't worship any of that stuff. If it was to go tomorrow morning, I'm not one of those who go, oh, you hit my jack. I don't care. The bottom line is that, these things are not who I am, but don't be guilty because you can afford it now. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. You don't have to be a show off or this and that, like say, I did all of this, but at the same time, embrace it. Embrace the fact that, okay, you did this, you raised these children to where they are. So it tells you that you can do other things. And what you want to do for yourself now is that you take that. That's why I always say, write down the things that you take those same principles that you use, apply it to something else, and you're going to be successful in that. All right. Something else failed. So your business, and you transition yourself into something new. So what you have got to do now is learn as much about this new thing and get yourself into a position where you're ready. Because when you're ready, the clients are going to come. People call me from places that I never even advertised. And somebody would pick up the phone. I was in Jamaica today, and somebody come and say, hey, I need you to come see me. I have $2 million I need to invest. And I'm like, where did you hear about me from? Because, and I'm like, but the thing about it is that when you're ready, people find you. Because when you're ready, I'm going to use another biblical analogy. When you're ready, the star is risen and people can see it. Remember when they found the baby, it's because the star was risen and they could see the star from miles away. So when you're ready, when you prepare yourself and your star is risen, people can see it. You don't have to do much. They can see it. When you open up your mouth, they said, wait, there's something different about you. There's some, and you're attracted to people who want to do business with you. And that's the way I get most of my business. Most of my business is not from advertising. Sometimes
Word of
you say,
mouth.
well,
People who know about you.
yeah, is that people, your star risen, and when your star is risen, they may be going through something and they see you and they said, wait a minute, that guy, yeah, man, I like when he said this, that, and your information is out there. The information is out there, and I'm telling you, you get the big clients because you're ready. If you don't have the infrastructure to deal with the big clients, you're not going to get them. Because if you do get them, and you don't want them, because if you do get them and you messed up one big one, everybody knows, and then you just ruin your thing. So better you put yourself in a position and say, okay, you know what system and structure do I need to put in place today to get me ready, so I have things on standby. And the funniest thing is that, you'll tell you one little story.
Hmm.
With this whole thing when I was 22 years old, right? Before the pastor did that, I met some people at a trade show that was asking me if I have job for them. And I'm like, I take your information. I don't have anything right now, but I take your information. So when that happened, I was in a
Wow.
position to
You are
call
ready.
so and so and so. And sometimes I do that. I interview people and I hold on to your resume, not because I have a position, but you don't take your umbrella outside because it's raining. You take your umbrella preparing for rain.
My
So when
goodness.
it's raining, you're ready. You don't want to be, it's raining, you're running back inside to get your umbrella. You take your umbrella out, you prepare yourself, and then when it rains, you can deal with it. If not, you're going to be wet.
Hmm. Mm. Mm. Lindell, the principles just keep coming out of your brother. But that's
I
again.
mean, there's much more in the book. The book goes much more in depth, right?
No, there's these again. This is, I think, a perfect end of the year type of message. I'm gonna clip this up and repost bits and pieces of it. People need to see it and need to hear it, because yeah, it is a lot of deep kind of inner work, and I've been always kind of in what should I say, curious about inner work. How come some people have the gifts, the skill sets, even the ability, but they can't see it. The insecurity plagues people. I know some people that's so good but don't believe in themselves, or like you describe, and thank you for sharing that, don't feel like they truly deserve it. And I've felt like that. Understanding, like, again, preparedness makes you readier for what is coming. The blessing meets you at the is the point of your readiness, is what you're describing.
Mhm.
And why we don't have is why we can't, we cannot visualize, we cannot see, but we're also not doing and actively pursuing the readiness level that we need to meet that partner, to meet the business expectation. If anybody can come to this country and start a $250,000 business in 2 years, I know people be mad to hear that, but it all boils down to, like, again, exposure and mindset. And as you said, I was even at you got the pastors, okay, but you were at the trade show already, looking, people offering to work for you. So things come in alignment. And for those of us who can't see the picture as clearly as he did, as to where we're going to go next, how is it going to happen? Should I be investing in this? Should I be investing in that? Like, again, the reading, the listening, to people who have the, as Andrew described it, the good financial sense and sensibilities, as well as getting around people who are already doing. You don't know what industry, but you've always been, drawn to dressmaking, or you don't know what industry, but you've always been drawn to, I don't know, being a firefighter. I don't know. Fill in your blank. I can't tell you your blank, but I always tell people when I was doing my women's empowerment type of events, go back to when you were your purest, before the world told you you couldn't, before the world beat you up and you had the failures and the scarlet letters and all these labels. What was it that brought you so much joy, if you don't even remember what brings you joy now? Oftentimes when we were a kid, or oftentimes when we were young people, young adults, we would have, painted recklessly. We would have, I don't know, fill in your blank, guys. But we have been told we can't do that anymore. There's no money in it. You can't make a living off of that. You have to get a job. You have to do this kind of thing. But it's okay to wait, but wait with purpose. Work for someone. Get in front of somebody. Get into a kind of mentorship kind of relationship, whether it be through work or otherwise. New circles, new environments, new places that you can develop your mindset in, so that you're not around the same crew that ain't going where you going, not around the same family members that kind of have you hemmed up. As Andrew says, we're going to emancipate ourselves from slavery. For though others may be free, the body, none but ourselves can free our mind. For thou, yeah, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
messed that up. But yeah, I
Yeah.
know the quote. I was thinking about Marley's song, and we
Yeah.
will have to emancipate
Yeah.
ourselves, because we can't, no one else can free our mind. We're doing some work over here. If
Yeah.
y'all enjoying it,
Yeah.
please hit the fire emoji. Please hit the like button. You know the book is out there. So you can get the book. You can support the book. Bernard was like, fire in this chat. Peace, family. Yes, he's enjoying it. I'm glad that you're here. Tracy, greetings, says, okay, I'm all about the results. I'm buying your book. And then I need you in my corner as my advisor. I know so many wealthy folks, but they're tight with information. This is true. You have people who are open palmed and extend, and you have people who looking at you like you need to figure it out, because I did, and that is a real thing. Pull up the bridge as they cross it. That kind of mindset, but it's okay. You'll find your what should I say, your conduit, your Sherpa, the purpose, your guide, to get you where you need to go. Be ready. But oftentimes the people who we think are going to be our guides or be open with information oftentimes are not. Good afternoon, Scam Likely. Joy says, thank you. And she says, my words of the world would be, who you are to define me. Who are you to define me? Did I borrow your breath? Let's go. All right, we seen the shift in joy already. Let's go. Don't define me. I find that a lot of people, especially like if you have a baby young or if you're a single mom, that's this big label that is almost a self-limiting. Society also puts that on you. Don't think that it doesn't come from anywhere, but you can digest it and internalize it, and it becomes, I'm a single mom and that's all I can be. And that means for a lot of people, self-limiting. I can't be what my dreams were. I can't live out life to the fullest. We got to remove some of these things. And if you need to get around different people, read this book, get into therapy, open yourself up to new circles by trying new things and taking on new challenges, moving, new job opportunities, whatever you need to do. Again, my thing is now Eventbrite, just scrolling through and seeing what I see in terms of Zoom classes, free or otherwise, or events that I can get fed, so that I can pick up that little woo. That's what I was hoping to provide others with when I was doing a lot of my events and such, pre-pandemic, and trying to figure out what I want to do for 2023, y'all. So stay tuned with that. Final words, y'all, because I think we could go so deep. Again, pre-order the book on Amazon. Link is in the chat. Link is in the description. Oh, Scam Likely gonna bring the word. Victims are what they say they are. Yikes. He comes straight, no chaser. If you know Scam Likely, he don't like no victim mentality, as he would say. But final words from you, brother. The back is closed. I want to end on just some more positivity. You've taught a lot already through this paradigm shift of mind that you say is needed for anyone, but men in particular, to make their money. Any other principles that you want to leave us with before we head out?
Just an observation. I'm a Christian, right? So, and I go into churches, and Suzette, where I find a lot of people that's not ready is in churches. And it's amazing that they go in, they praise God, but some of them have done nothing to improve themselves here. And in order for you to function, and because godliness does not equal financial gain, right? We know that. But if you set principle, then at least you can survive. If you have principles, system, and structure, then at least you can understand money, because money is created by man and we need to master it. Because if not, the Bible also says that the rich rule over the poor and the borrower is a servant to the lender.
Right.
So therefore, if I don't want to become servant or anybody to rule over me, I need to understand their principle, because money is a weapon. They don't understand that. Money is actually a weapon, right? So when money was created to show the person with the more powerful money rules everybody else. So they have you devalue your dollar so that they can bring their goods. But that's a whole different thing to go into. But money is actually, and if you understand that money is actually a weapon that is used to control economies and to control world powers and make them bow, right? So sanction, this, that is to weaken your dollar, to show you we have the stronger money. And because we're the stronger money, we can control you. So if you understand that money is a weapon that was created to keep you in your place, then you need to understand it to make sure you have some of it so that you can say, excuse me, but I ain't gonna take your crap.
Right.
So it's not for you to glorify and think that because I have money, I'm more godly than anybody else. Because that's not it, and it's not to be worshipped. We can talk about, but there's so much more we can go into,
We
right?
have to
Because,
bring it back. We have to bring it
yeah,
back.
and we can talk about some of the prints of you having it and you make it suck away your soul because you've gone too deep on this side. There's one thing to be on that side and this side. Life is about balance.
Right, right.
But I'm telling you, I
I'm
really
enjoying this, you guys, and we got to go. I told him I'd be cutting him at a decent hour. If you enjoy, please hit the like button. Lindell, if you're team replay or you just joined, go back and watch from the beginning. There are a lot of great nuggets in this that I think I'm going to reshare on my YouTube channel in small bites, small doses, so we can continue this message, which is so powerful. Check out his book, pre-order it. It comes in January, comes out officially, and then you can come back after the book is dropped. Men and Money was today's subject. Go
yeah,
ahead. Go
let
ahead.
me interrupt. Yeah, we decided to put it out for Christmas, so it's there now. They can actually
Oh,
get
it's
it now.
there. I
Yeah,
didn't know that. My
yeah,
bad.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know we had said January when we spoke initially, but
yeah,
great. You can
yeah.
buy it for someone who needs it. You can buy it as a gift to yourself. Again, without knowledge, and without a vision, the Bible says we perish. So we really want to increase our knowledge. Let that be one of your goals as we get ready for the new year and before. It doesn't even have to wait. You don't have to wait. And start listening to more people talk about different ways in which you can invest or grow, or as he calls it, sow the seed so that it becomes structurally something that you don't even have to worry about, but it multiplies in due time and that you have it in the long haul. I shall salute everyone who is in this chat and who enjoyed. Thank you, Joy. Appreciate. I'll hit the like button before we leave. Again, thank you to RM. I appreciate you for being here. Such a fantastic moderator. Doug, I see you. Thank you, everybody. I want to plug one more time before we go. I have a couple announcements to make, but Lindell, thank you. And you guys know where you can find him. RM has put his Amazon, his Instagram, his way to communicate. I'm sure he'll have the website, LindellDouglas.org. So
Yeah.
you can visit him there. Lindell, I appreciate you. Thank you. Hang out in the back for me. Appreciate you being here. And so always a pleasure, my brother. Thank you so much. Lindell Douglas, y'all. Make sure you check out his book. Fantastic timing for the Christmas season. So again, check him out on Amazon. I was going to let y'all know. Come through on Wednesdays. If you are over on Facebook, go over to YouTube. Just go over right now and go ahead and type in Suzette Speaks in YouTube and subscribe to my channel. That way you'll get all my content because I'm not just live on Saturdays. I come on live throughout the week. So go over, if you're on my Facebook friends, go over to YouTube. Just get to YouTube on your phone and look me up, Suzette Speaks. And please follow, like, and subscribe. Doug says, good stream. Lindell, they really enjoyed having you. I was going to just announce real quick. I didn't want to do it while he was up. That, again, Wednesdays, I've joined the Roland Martin Network vis-a-vis my friend Faraji Muhammad's show called The Culture over there on Roland Martin. Roland Martin is almost at 1 million subs on YouTube. He's at like 900 right now, 970-ish thousand. And it's a privilege that I get to be over there with Faraji Muhammad every Wednesday now from 3 to 5. So I always post it on my community tab on Wednesdays so you guys can find the stream. But if you are not, you can subscribe to Roland Martin Unfiltered Network. Just look up Roland Martin on YouTube. And we are having some great conversations. The last 3 shows, fire. So I will be a standing contributor every Wednesday from 3 to 5 Eastern time on the Roland Martin Network, almost at 1 million subscribers. Can't wait. And anybody who has found me through Roland Martin, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a new sub. Welcome to the family of what we call speakers, Suzette Speaks speakers, those who speak out and speak up, and share their thoughts and opinions with me and with others through this platform. So I appreciate each and every one of you. RM, my moderator, also has a channel. I saw you put it, darling. RM, thank you so much. Check out her channel. RM is talking about, let me see, I saw in the chat, femme kind of sensibilities from the 1950s. If you like throwback femininity, you got to check out her channel, y'all. She is here working hard, and I appreciate you so very much for being here. And again, check me out on Roland Martin every Wednesday. I'll see y'all next Saturday where we'll have nutrition lawyer and Kirk D.A. Anderson talking about eating during the holidays and how to stay on our goals. I appreciate you guys watching. Please hit the like button. Thank you for spending time with me. And Patreon members, if you are not aware, I put out a survey about what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So check Patreon, answer, and give me feedback. Thank you, Brown Gal Peace Lounge. She already gave me some feedback on what we're going to talk about Sunday at 1. So Patreon exclusive chat, not on YouTube, only for members only. Those who subscribe to my Patreon and support with a monthly donation as low as $5 a month. Thank you, those who support me and support what I'm doing here on YouTube. So all my Patreon members, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you. Can't wait for our discussion tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Special guest, Miss AKA Lady, helping me tomorrow on Patreon. The Cash App is there, y'all, if y'all want to support. Thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everybody who donated already to this stream, helping me grow. If you want to join me on Patreon, just go to patreon.com/SuzetteSpeaks. Again, more intimate and not available to the public conversations. We get to go a little deeper and get to know each other and form kind of that smaller community. But anybody who's a member over there, thank you. Thank you. Everybody who supports me on Patreon, hit the like button, y'all. And shout out again to Lindell Douglas. Go get the book. Okay, no, that's not the name of it. That was today's discussion, Man and Money, Creating a Paradigm Shift in the Mind. The book is called 5 Steps to Financial Freedom, available now in time for Christmas. Yes, can't wait. I'll see you on Patreon, RM. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great one. Take care. Bye. Thanks for watching.